this debate. Our guest this morning, Adeyinka Olumide Fushika, on President Tinubu's intervention to unfreeze the Osun State government account, and Oluwafemi Adebayo on INEC's readiness for the Osun gubernatorial election. In business with Rocha Sodiri, China's record trade surplus of $112.5 billion. That's thanks to AI.
Seri collects. Tries to get the ball in. There's a chance for a shot! A great goal!
In sport with Aaron Akerejola, Ivory Coast face off against Algeria in the first WAFCON quarter-final. The winner automatically qualifies for the Women's World Cup in Brazil in 2027. And Vini Jr. will stay at Real Madrid. He signed a new contract keeping him there until 2032.
Okay, I say I will do it without command. I will do it without command.
On what's trending with Anieze Osakwe, police officers held at gunpoint during an ambush in Imo State. On World Brief with me, Adefemi Akinsoya, if at first you don't succeed, try again. After the Supreme Court's dismissal, Trump has signed new executive orders to end birth tourism. Meta is handed another multi-million-dollar fine for violating child online safety. And guess who's back in Benin? Former President Patrice Talon returns as the first Senate president. I'll also bring papers presenting top stories from home and abroad. All of this coming up with Dr. Ruben Abati, Ayo Maro Esse, and Rufayo Seni. This is The Morning Show.
Good morning out there and welcome to The Morning Show here on the Arise News Channel. First on the headlines this morning. In a deft and rare leadership move, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to vacate the court order freezing Osun State government's account. In a personally signed statement, Tinubu said he's embarrassed by the timing of the decision, barely 10 days to Osun's governorship election. The president said the action had created the impression of interference in the electoral process. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has now filed a 2 billion naira suit against the EFCC at the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging the freezing of its federal statutory allocation account. Reacting to the move by the EFCC, a court party has alleged that the freezing of the Osun State government's accounts formed part of a broader plot to influence the outcome of the August 15 governorship election. While the African Democratic Congress says the directive by the president raises fresh concerns about the independence of the anti-graft agencies.
Well, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offices Commission, ICPC, yesterday absolved the Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, of any blame in the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PFIPC saga. The commission also disclosed that Adeyemi floated 2 additional fictitious government agencies, namely FCT Investment Promotion Agency and Foreign Investment Promotion Agency and Public-Private Partnership. He also unlawfully occupied the office of the defunct Presidential Economic Advisory Council and exploited weaknesses in government verification processes with the alleged connivance and negligence of some public officials. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating the fake agency has heard how it obtained official federal government vehicle number plates after convincing the Federal Road Safety Corps it was a legitimate government institution. The Corps subsequently issued 7 official number plates for a fleet comprising a bulletproof Lexus, 2 Toyota Land Cruisers, a Toyota Prado, and 3 Toyota Hilux vehicles.
The National Orientation Agency is seeking stronger partnership with the Nigerian Police Force to rebuild trust and strengthen community policing and promote new national values. The call came during a courtesy visit by NOA Agency, a National Orientation Agency, to the Inspector General of Police, who also urged officers to actively shape national conversation on proposed creation of state police. Arise correspondent Ihotu Odo reports.
The visit focused on strengthening collaboration between the National Orientation Agency and the Nigeria Police Force in promoting national unity, security, and citizens' confidence in government. The Director General of the NOA said the agency's mandate extends beyond public communication to driving value orientation through the Nigerian Identity Project and the National Values Charter, a framework designed to define the values of responsible citizenship while outlining the responsibilities of both government and citizens. He said the police, as the most visible representatives of government, have a critical role in demonstrating integrity, professionalism, accountability, and respect for human dignity, noting that every interaction between officers and citizens either strengthens or weakens public trust.
Mantra is not our problem. Slogan is not our problem. But have they solved the problem of patriotism, of unity, of national cohesion, of shared identity? Definitely no. So we felt there's a need to do something different. We should stop treating the symptoms, that we must go to the root of our challenges. But this time what we have done differently, like other countries, is to actually create institutions that will nurture all of us on what our national values are, so that we all can understand it and we all can be indoctrinated, let me use that word, into it, and then we become carriers of these identities.
The NOA boss also proposed a more structured partnership with the police, leveraging the agency's offices in all 774 local government areas to support community intelligence, early warning, public sensitization, and conflict prevention. He added that citizenship studies and Nigerian-themed educational content would help instill patriotism, discipline, and responsible citizenship from early age. The Inspector General of Police welcomed the collaboration, describing it as a step towards strengthening community engagement.
Every day when a policeman walks on the streets, they have been able to prevent a lot of crimes from happening, because a lot of criminals have seen them and they will have thought twice that it was not okay for them to carry out the plans they are doing. So we want you to assist to pass this message over to Nigerians, to see Nigerian policemen on the road and say, thank you for the good job you are doing for us.
Meanwhile, at a one-day workshop organized by the Nigeria Police Institute in Abuja, the IGP called on officers to actively participate in discussions on the proposed establishment of state police, describing the workshop as an opportunity to examine the implications of the proposal, address genuine concerns, and contribute meaningfully to the national discourse.
There are fears everywhere, and it's our duty to educate them and let them know what the state police is all about. The federal government of Nigeria have made up their mind to have the state police, and it is our duty to assist them to achieve it.
Participants were urged to approach the discussions objectively and share the knowledge gained with officers in their various commands to promote better understanding, dispel misconceptions, and ease concerns surrounding the proposed state police system. Ihoto Odo, Arise News.
Meanwhile, a special dinner was held to honor police families fulfilling the promise to recognize their unwavering support and sacrifice. Speaking at the event, POA President Olufunmilola Mutiat Disu emphasized that the support of police spouses is essential to officers' effectiveness.
Thank you for eulogizing police officers' wife. They take the brunt of what we face every day. People who marry police officers are special women. So we thank you so much for all you do for us. Just like you have been advised, continue to help us to take care of our children.
Well, I'll tell them to continue to be the strong pillar of support for our husbands and to continue keeping the home front stable. Because if the home front is stable, the police will be able to give in their best, their duty posts.
Thank you so much for your dedication to the family. Thank you so much for giving your husbands, your partners in the police force the support they need. And I want to say a big thank you to the police force for protecting us. You all are wonderful. I must say, I will respect you, will love you. And to the citizens out there, let us support the police force. We need them.
As they start for happiness, they will end their work for happiness. Because for this change, money, dollars, as they give me, I know you cover so many things for my family.
Right. Good morning. Thank God it's Friday. First of all, I love that show. You know, we often talk about boosting the morale of police officers and sometimes the unseen heroes when we talk about the police force, and that is the wives of the police officers. As the IGP himself, Mr. Olatunji Disu, had said that the wives sometimes have to take on the heat that many people do not see. And so it's important that we recognize them, honor them. We saw Nollywood multiple award-winning, record-breaking star Funke Akindele there speaking, and perhaps maybe she's an ambassador, thereby just being able to do that. We see this happen in other parts of the world where we have, you know, even special concerts, meeting with the president, with leaders, with the armed forces, just to boost their morale and a demonstration or a show of support and solidarity and a commendation, as it were, to encourage them to do more and to do better. So very well done. Now let's talk about the substance of the stories this morning. Of course, two big stories, EFCC and the president, and the PFIPC and ICPC's initial findings and the report as was presented yesterday. Let's start with the EFCC and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Osun State, and of course, Governor Ademola Adeleke, and a little subnote there with what has been perceived as an interference by not just the president, but the APC as a party to influence the outcome of the August 15 elections in Osun State in a few weeks. So the background of this story, and I believe that if you track all through the process, we have taken that story here on the show. On Tuesday, Governor Ademola Adeleke held a press conference just talking about the many challenges that Osun State has had and what has been said to be an attempt to hijack the process, interfere with the process by the APC and the leadership. In that at that press conference, he also almost a whistleblowing effort to say that the EFCC was going to freeze the accounts. Before the end of day or close of day that day, indeed, the EFCC had announced that they were freezing the accounts of the Osun State salary accounts based on investigations that they had done since March 2026. Please stay with me. And the reason why I'm putting this down is because there's a background. It wasn't just, an account that was frozen just for the pleasure of doing that. We had Mr. Wilson Wujaren yesterday on the show come to defend the stance of the EFCC following a press release that the EFCC themselves had released to justify why they had to take this decision at this time, despite what the perception would look like based on the fact that it was coming a few days to the elections. And he sat here for a few minutes and he defended the EFCC, even saying that Osun State was not the only state that was being investigated. There were other states that were under investigation. So from the point of view of the EFCC, they were justified in this move. And if it had to do with corruption, whether or not you were coming towards an election or not, it would not preclude their investigations. And when needed, they would obtain a court order or even take on the rights of 72 hours window that the enabling act that created the EFCC gives them to take on this action. So that's where we were until yesterday. The president chose to intervene in what a number of analysts, stakeholders had criticized as wrong timing, especially based on already perceived interference by the APC. In his statement, he said he was deeply embarrassed. He was quite embarrassed by the actions of the agency. And based on that, he was compelled to step in. Some people have described it, if you read the article of this morning, as a deft and rare leadership move. That the EFCC, and let me answer the question around, people are asking, is the EFCC not independent? Should the president have the powers to intervene or interfere in its activities? And, there have been responses to that the EFCC is an agency under the executive. Even though traditionally it is perceived to be independent, it is not an institution like the judiciary that is independent of the executive. So even though it's a law enforcement agency, it is supposed to be independent, and perception is bigger than reality. The president is supposed to also promote that thought of it being independent. So that then raised many questions. Despite the justification of what the president did, despite the description of it as being, a good move by a number of people, different people have reacted to this move, saying that yes, the president had to step in. He could not afford for him to continue to come under scrutiny as being anti-democratic, using the tools of government to act as interfering bodies when it came to election cycles. But it raises a lot of questions. And I believe this is where legal minds, I was listening to Mr. Madu Abuchi yesterday with Charles yesterday on Prime Time, where he was breaking this down. And I think one thing he spoke about that was quite important was the discretionary powers of public officials, especially when there are matters of interest, or in this regard, where it seemed like it was going to upset, shall we say, the heat of the polity even further. But some questions, number one, is that in many quarters, it is now being confirmed that the president does in fact intervene or interfere in the activities of the EFCC. Some people also raise the question that could there have been a better way to have handled this? Yes, it was glaring that it didn't look very well when we look at perception for the APC and the coming Osun elections, in addition to the other allegations around violence and other things that have come out from the state. Mr. Madu Abuchi had given the thought that perhaps the president could have gone through his attorney general, just remove himself to keep up that appearance or to keep up and uphold the fact that the EFCC is perceived to be an independent agency, and to not further erode the trust that currently is fragile when it comes to public perception of the EFCC and as an agency, as a law enforcement agency. So that was another point. The question then begs that, was it urgent enough for the president to break all these protocols to release a statement signed in his name yesterday when he could have used other, perhaps more discreet means to achieve the same purpose? Other questions, of course, to then talk about precedents. There will then be questions or justifications for raising the question mark around other high-profile cases that have seemed to have gone under the radar. Did the EFCC also receive such directives? For instance, there have been questions raised about the Dr. Betta Edu incident, Yahaya Bello, the former governor of Kogi State. These cases that have remained unresolved or still not resolved by the EFCC. The question then will be asked is, did the president also make a call or ask them to vacate their orders or investigations? And so perhaps the most important outcome from this particular statement is not just the fact that, yes, some sort of sanity has been restored thanks to the president's intervention in Osun State, but it raises other questions around independence. The EFCC being able to discharge its duties without executive interference, not just now, but even for the future. Other leaders who might come, other presidents who might come in and decide to interfere in the activities of a law enforcement agent. And so those are some of the things. And PFIPC, of course, the initial outcome of the ICPC results, and I'll say this and end here, is a question around systemic failures and what would allow an individual forge documents and use the documents to get an office in the Federal Secretariat, open a CBN account, and other such activities. Rufai, I think that's just the beginning of the case, but there's still many questions to be asked.
Again, I've been vindicated with the ICPC investigation, and I will be vindicated when the House of Reps finish their show on the Adeyemi issue. What was the bone of contention? There was an allegation of 400 million given to the chief of staff. The question is, was that allegation investigated? If Adeyemi said there was a trail, have we investigated what led to the death of the person? What are the circumstances around it? These are some things Nigeria will never get to know. Like Donald Rumsfeld talked about known knowns and unknown unknown. That will remain in the realm of unknown unknown. Like I said before, this investigation for the ICPC will vindicate the presidency, and it has done. So once again, I have been proven correctly. I took a bet with you yesterday, Ayo. I'm not a betting man, but when I bet on Nigeria police guy, I should be a billionaire by now.
Bet about what? What was that?
I took a bet with you that nothing will come out of this matter.
Oh, the Adeyemi matter?
Yes.
It's still ongoing.
No, nothing. Ayo is finished.
Report.
Ayo is finished. You know, the ICPC just talked about connivance with some people and all of that. The people will never see the light of day.
Adeyemi hasn't spoken.
They will look for Forget it. He will never speak. You will never hear him speak and address everything in public, and it's going to be an independent panel. This case is forgotten. It's gone. That's just it. I've told you what it entails. Secondly, let me speak in defense of the president today, but I will also add the other side. The supporters of the president today will say he has done a good thing. Yes, he stepped in. In fact, I saw Babafemi Ojodu wrote an article saying, yes, he has done a good thing, that this is the second time in this week they are going to pivot. Even the bishops matter, they pivoted and all of that. Yes. In fact, to answer your question in defense of the president this morning, you were asking, he could have used more discreet means. No, he didn't probably use the discreet means because he wanted to show that he was the one defending democracy, Yes, and all of that. But he just confirmed all we've always talked about. And he just confirmed the fact that a Nigerian president is so powerful, he's a monarch. No matter how you look at it, it confirms a lot this morning. And it goes back to talk about our institutions. I remind you exactly what happened when I was talking about blackmail yesterday. I don't use words loosely, because I know they speak big English. I understand English. When I was telling Wilson Owujare yesterday that you've already achieved the aim, even if the president reverses this, they've already achieved the aim. They've already blackmailed the state government. You thought I was joking. This is exactly what happened between James Comey and Hillary Clinton, leading up to the 2016 elections, the Comey investigations. By the time he had said the investigation was going on again, he had already blackmailed the candidates. So this reversal is a little too late. Because you had already blackmailed the candidates. By you saying, okay, they should go ahead and pay the money. And they should unfreeze the account.
Just unfreeze him.
You have gone ahead to blackmail it because you have already put a toga of corruption around the candidate. It's what we call narrative building now. I've been doing this job for so many years. That's narrative building. If you go and search the search engine optimization around Osun State, you will see a freeze account and corruption allegations. Go and look at the SEO. So you've already achieved the aim. So the question is it that the EFCC does not have discretionary purpose? And that's why we say, for the sake of integrity, release the other states. Release the other states you're investigating. Because if EFCC has sweepingly mentioned many states they are investigating and the action they are taking to block the account, we will not cry foul politically. But you mentioned one particular state at a point in time. Then to now stretch it even further, when I was talking about rabbit hole, I don't use words loosely. When I was saying I led Wilson Owujare to a rabbit hole yesterday, a lot of people thought I don't know what I was saying. Dr. Abati, I put it to everybody. EFCC didn't freeze any Edo State accounts before the elections in Edo State, as it was asserted. I deliberately allowed that rabbit hole to continue. And you can please fact check me. So there was no precedence if you wanted to argue precedence. There was no precedence to that effect. So obviously, there was something wrong in the ecosystem. And it goes back to confirm another point that the EFCC has become political. Let's call it spade a spade. The EFCC has become political. And I'm happy you mentioned Betta Edu's case. Because since Alima came on TV here and broached up that matter, it's not been revisited. Has it been revisited? No. What about other matters like that? So, and we also see a pattern. Those that you are against the government, you get docked. Some other people, their sins are forgiven. Even if the case is pressed on, it drags on in the courts. So the presidency just confirmed other things. If I ask a question now, they will say, Rufa, you started again. You are grandstanding. Can we also ask, how many of such orders has the president given to the EFCC? Both in the background and in the foreground. Because before orders can be given in the foreground, there's always an antecedence. If we want transparency in our democracy. So the president's supporters will say, he's a hero of democracy. It shows he can backtrack and everything. But this has now also opened the Pandora's box of many questions. So is it that the institutional discretion of the EFCC was so faulty? Is it that nobody in the EFCC sat down and told them the public affairs implication, the court of public opinion implication, the legal implication of what they were doing just before the election period? Is it that nobody told them? Is it that there's no second thought and an afterthought of the ecosystem and the aftermath of decisions being taken in the country? So it just confirms all we have always said. Institutions are at the mercy of the leader. And Ayo, in my last submission, I submit to you, that's why any Tom, Dick, and Harry, and any Tom, Dick, and Lagbaja wants to die to get the position of presidency in Nigeria, including Dr. Abati seated here. I lie? Because the position has immense powers. Even Ayo, even me. Because the position has immense unchecked powers. And once one man has immense unchecked powers, democracy becomes a joke and a daylight aberration. That's the Nigerian story.
All right. Dr. Abati.
Okay, let me just isolate some of the issues with regard to the Osun matter. And I submit that the president has taken a very prudent, politically prudent decision, very responsive, and I think he has shown leadership, statesmanship, at a time when it mattered most. To the extent that by that singular action of saying the EFCC should withdraw the case it has in court, leading to the freezing of one account of belonging to Osun State government. That will restore confidence in the political process in Osun State, to the extent that the president talked about timing. And that distinction is very important. He wasn't questioning the investigative powers of the EFCC. And in that regard, nobody can say EFCC has done anything illegal. It has the powers to investigate. But the timing that the president talked about has to do with enforcement of the outcome of his own investigation. And he said, look, the timing is very wrong because you could create the wrong impression. You could give the impression that the ruling party, being in opposition with the party in power in Osun State, may be trying to influence the process. So I think that the president's action, it's a case of the president himself acting as a circuit breaker and also establishing executive responsibility. Now, how do you say that? Some people, ADC, that, this raises question about the independence of the EFCC. Well, in terms of the investigation, nobody has evidence that, the president intervened in any way. The thing to also know is that the EFCC belongs to the executive arm of government. And within the purview of Section 5 of the 1999 Constitution, all those institutions, ministries, departments, and agencies, they exercise their powers as delegated authority. And the president, as a head of state, has a responsibility because the buck stops at his desk to make sure that when there is likely to be anything at all within government that is going to, heat up the polity, he has a responsibility as the man at whose desk the buck stops to step in and act as a circuit breaker that I refer to. So I do not see how this raises a question about the independence of INEC, EFCC. The president is not going to say EFCC investigation will be overruled. Now, after the election, if they still find cause to return to any other thing in terms of their investigation, the institution can still return to it. So that's that about that. And this EFCC, under the current chairman, because there's also the temptation to just make a blanket statement, has no reputation, has not been known to be frivolous. However, what you can ask for is that there should be an investigation. We need to know. Because one of the allegations by the Osun State government, they specifically mentioned Minister Oyetola as the person who instigated, the tension. And Minister Oyetola has said, well, he's innocent. But can they investigate that? Is it true that somebody influenced EFCC? Is it possible for, an individual to authorize the EFCC? Those are questions that you can ask. Now, I go back to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think, it's instructive because when he was governor of Lagos State, he had a lot of issues with the federal government, particularly the Obasanjo administration, particularly in 2004, when the Lagos State government created 37 additional local councils. The federal government decided to freeze the account. They ended in court. And on December 10, 2004, the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled that the federal government of Nigeria cannot freeze the account of any of the states or any part of the federation. So to that extent, President Tinubu's intervention will also seem to me like an act of self-redemption. However, in Osun State, I think it is important to say to all the players that they should play fair. They should realize that the interest of the people of Osun State is more important than any personal ambition. And that's why we've been calling for peace, fairness, a level playing field in Osun State. And I think that is very important. Because politics is not about balance of emotions. Politics is about balance of strategies. And let the players focus on their strategies, not on violence, not on politics of hate. Now, very quickly, as for ICPC, saying that the presidency has been absolved of any guilt in the matter of a certain Adini Adeyemi Matthew. Well, I think that there are some residual issues that will need to be addressed. Number one, the same ICPC pointed out that they discovered that it was not just that Investment Promotion Council, that this particular Adeyemi also has two other agencies. One FCT Investment Promotion Agency, PIFA. He also has another one, FIFA, just playing with acronyms. He also registered vehicles with the Federal Road Safety Commission. And the ICPC was saying that the FRSC should be careful not to be registering vehicles for fake agencies. So it shows that the rot has gone so far. However, the other issue to note here is that this same Adeyemi Matthew is saying that if he's going to be interrogated by the House of Reps, he should be in open view of everybody, and that he should be televised, and that he has a lot to say. I think that he should be given every opportunity to say whatever he has to say. We, the Nigerian people, we want to hear. In fact, we want to be part of the process of the revelation. So ICPC saying, we have absorbed the presidency, that doesn't go far enough. Let us hear from Adeyemi himself in open court, in open arena. After all, they say, Audi alteram patum, thou must hear the other side. No attempt should be made to gag him. Now, as for the police and the NOA, I think it's a good development, a welcome development that the National Orientation Agency wants to work with the, the police, the Nigerian police, in the area of intelligence sharing, in terms of information and other areas of collaboration. After all, they say the police is your friend, and the police should be a friend of the National Orientation Agency. There is a lot that they can share, and we've always asked for synergy among government departments and agencies. The Inspector General of Police says the average policeman should take an interest in the making of the state police. Well, that goes without saying. But the thing again is, the police, they have an advisory council. Why have you not heard from that police advisory board? Why is it that even in the presidency, all the persons that they have recruited as experts, to advise and give their own ideas in terms of the process. They are not there. So is it that they are having issues setting up a secretariat in, firming up the process, or do they have any kind of special constraints? Where there are constraints, those constraints should be addressed. As for welfare for families of policemen, well, of course, what more can we say about that? We always talk about welfare. We always talk about motivation.
All right, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Bati Rufai. This morning, it's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us for World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.
A packaged goods company just lost 5 billion naira. They imported in dollars, paid obligations in naira, and sold on 60-day credit terms. By payment date, their margins had evaporated. Currency volatility is not a risk for FMCG. It is the business environment. Input costs have risen 25%. Consumers absorb 12% before switching. That 13% gap is where companies die. At Fidelity Corporate Bank, we defend margins. Forward FX contracts lock dollar costs today. We don't just finance FMCG. We defend margins. We keep you in business. Speak to us today.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
This coming summer, your dream island escape is closer than ever. Fly seamlessly from Lagos to the breathtaking islands of Barbados and Antigua. Experience turquoise waters, white sandy beaches, vibrant culture, and the true meaning of relaxation. With convenient twice-monthly flights, your summer plans just became easier. The May to September schedule is now available for booking. Enjoy comfort, ease, and a direct link between Africa and the Caribbean. Book now on flyerpeace.com or through your usual travel agent. The Caribbean is calling. Fly with Air Peace for your summer holidays.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsonya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin.
Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Ayo, and good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Thank you all for your lovely
Implication day today.
It is Implication Day today, isn't it? Isn't it? See when you get off air. Lovely. Good morning to you, viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. US President Donald Trump has signed a new executive order aiming to ban what is called birth tourism in the United States. Now, the directive orders immigration officials to deny visas to foreign nationals suspected of traveling to the United States solely to give birth on American soil. This move follows a June Supreme Court ruling that struck down a previous attempt. Let's take a listen to what Trump had to say.
So we're cracking down very big crackdowns, and very successful NATO summit and very successful NATO summit and earlier the past 2 days I had a number, and we're very successful NATO summit. So we're cracking down very big crackdowns, and This will give us the right to do it in a much more forceful manner. But they've taken birthright citizenship.
I wonder if we were able to hear that. Perhaps we'll take it again, but we can play it in the wall just so that we're all clear on what Trump had to say. Let's take a listen.
Birthright citizenship. Supreme Court. So we're cracking down very big crackdowns. And this will give us the right to do it in a much more forceful manner. But they've taken birthright citizenship and they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of...
Thank you for your patience. Well, the first executive order, I'll run through, I'll tell you what you've missed. So the first executive order non-exhaustively identifies certain categories of children of aliens who are not entitled to birthright citizenship consistent with historical exceptions. Now, the second executive order delegates presidential authorities to the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security and directs them to halt the practices of birth tourism. In addition to individual travel restrictions, the new order does target businesses that organize and promote these birth travel schemes. The Trump administration says these efforts are to protect the value of American citizenship, which it calls a priceless and profound gift. Staying in the United States, a New Mexico judge has ordered social media giant Meta to pay an additional $567 million. And they want them to pay that money into a youth mental health fund. The landmark ruling brands Facebook and Instagram's parent company a public nuisance for intentionally optimizing features that hook and harm teenagers. This fresh penalty is on top of a $375 million civil verdict from March, bringing Meta's total liability in the state to nearly $1 billion. Now, the bulk of the new funds will directly support youth mental health screening and treatment infrastructure. Meta has strongly denied any wrongdoing and vowed to appeal their decision. And then we come home to the African continent, where former Beninese or Beninois President Patrice Talon has made a swift return to public office. And that is after being elected as the country's first ever Senate president. Just over 2 months after stepping down from a decade-long presidency, the 68-year-old secured 24 out of 25 votes to head Benin's newly established upper house. The powerful chamber was created under a recent constitutional reform aimed at improving national security and political stability. In his inaugural speech in Porto Novo, Talon pledged to use the 5-year term to foster democracy and strengthen national unity. Let's move on now to our newspaper headlines across the globe. As always, we start at home with this day here in Nigeria, which does lead with President Tinubu directing the EFCC to return to court and to lift the order freezing the Osun State government account. The president also spoke with Governor Ademola Adeleke to communicate that directive and clear the air. However, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the African Democratic Congress say the intervention raises fresh questions about the EFCC's independence. Adeleke himself has filed a 2 billion naira lawsuit against the anti-graft agency over the account freeze. Also in this day, we are seeing that the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has cleared President Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, of any wrongdoing in the fake Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council saga. The commission says the council never existed, described the appointment letter presented by its alleged Director General, one Adeniyi Adeyemi, as forged and recommended his prosecution, and called for sanctions against public officials whose negligence enabled the fraud. We're taking a look at the Daily Independence. Now, from that paper, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has remained Europe's largest supplier of jet fuel for the second consecutive month, exporting over 400,000 tons in July to account for about 20% of the continent's imports. Taking a look at the New Telegraph next, and it is highlighting Pan-African colonists urging the South African government to address unemployment and poor governance. They're calling those the major drivers of xenophobic attacks over in South Africa. Back to Nigeria, we'll take a look at the Punch, and it is going with the story from Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who says the state is facing a shortage of about 40,000 doctors and 40,000 nurses, with an estimated 100 billion naira funding gap in the health sector. He says the government is expanding health insurance coverage, recruiting more workers, but also investing in digital healthcare to fix this issue. Also in the Punch, we are seeing the Police Service Commission has handed over 50,000 newly recruited constables to the Nigerian police force for training. We're taking a look at The Guardian next, and it is investigating highlights that weak regulations of Nigeria's upstream oil sector is allowing widespread methane emissions across the Niger Delta. This is, of course, exposing host communities to environmental and health risks. Let's take a quick look at some British papers. The Times says a fifth of student loans in the United Kingdom now go to non-British citizens, risking billions for the taxpayer if they later leave the country and refuse to repay. The Daily Mail has Kemi Badenoch saying that she has pledged to evict more than 230,000 non-EU nationals from council houses, and she'll also ban any foreign person from signing a new tenancy. The Mail says that the Tory leader wants to free up space for the 1.3 million British households waiting for social housing. Then we have the Financial Times, which is looking at EasyJet's sale to a US investment company, making the front of its newspaper and taking EasyJet one step closer to being completely privately owned. Those are your newspaper headlines. Andrew, I'll brief. Love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, Femi, it's just so sad where we are in Africa today. As we speak, I mean, it was yesterday we were talking about Paul Biya.
Yes.
What does Talon want? After 10 years in power, it's not still enough. Then he brought his compatriots and added some people and they formed the Senate. He can repeal bills. He has some powers. They can do a second oversight. Is it to baby the new president or what? Or to still remain relevant? So what do African leaders want? Can't they serve their term and go? I mean, this is a man that is blessed already. He's called the Cotton King, made a lot of money from cotton. Rich, being president, beat his political opponent in his heydays. He used to, in fact, this man used to be the political godfather of Benin Republic because he used to fund, the candidate. I think he funded the likes of them, Yaya Boni and all of that. Before he now said the godfather wants to run. Then the godfather did run. He gets in there, spends 10 years. He's been able to put in his successor, survived a coup. Now he still wants to remain in power. I yield the floor.
Right. Okay, let me talk about this executive order given by the president. It's in two tranches, if I could, Directive A and Directive B. This is coming, of course, from the Supreme Court ruling explaining or giving or interpreting 14th Amendment on birthright citizenship, saying that any child born on American soil is an American citizen irrespective of their parents' immigration status. So Trump had already said he was going to find a way to come. He was still doubling hard on this. Don't forget that this was part of his campaign promise and was one of the executive orders on birthright citizenship that he signed on day one of assuming office. So what do these executive orders mean without directly going against the Supreme Court ruling? Number one is that, like you already mentioned earlier, Adefemi, is that they're saying that anyone who is seen to be obtaining visas for the sole purpose of coming to give birth to be denied. Now, questions already around that is that there are already strict provisions for countries when it comes to obtaining an American visa, especially during the Trump administration. It would make it even more difficult. Then the workers' route visas, the HBs and all that, there are concerns that it would make it even extra difficult to obtain those visas because you know that it lies in the hands of the consular officers to make these decisions, and sometimes they do err in the discharge of their duties, in the zeal of their duties. The other part of that, which is the more controversial one, is that those who are children who are born and they discover that their parents came through commercial transaction, will be denied a US visa. Now, that's a very vague term. How do you interpret or determine what is commercial transaction? How do you define what it is? And so, of course, already there'll be lawsuits against this because they're going to challenge both rules. Again, going back to the 14th Amendment as ruled by Supreme Court on the 30th of June of this year.
Thank you, Ayo.
Okay, on 30th June, the case decided by the Supreme Court of the United States is called Trump versus Barbara. And what their lordships did, voting 6-3, was to invalidate Executive Order 141603, under which, they now resolved 6-3 that any child that is born in the United States to any parent is a citizen, thus upholding the 14th Amendment. The only historical exceptions that that court upheld were persons whose parents may have what they call extraterritorial frictions. That's what that judgment stated. And who are these persons? Children born to diplomats serving within the U.S. territory who have diplomatic immunity. Children who are born on vessels that are docked in U.S. ports. Yes. Children that are born within U.S. territory to, parents at war with the United States. And then historically Native Americans, but that was before the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act. So I don't think that President Trump or any of his agents is in a position to overrule the Supreme Court. The position of the law is clear. What Trump is trying to do with these two executive orders is to say that he's preserving the integrity of American citizenship and that he wants to enforce and protect those historical exceptions, which the Supreme Court cannot even be extended at all. And, that's where the points you were making about what Trump has been doing, about putting America first. He has expelled almost about 3 million foreign aliens. He has restrictions in terms of visa applications for over 60 countries in other parts of the world. He has strengthened the southern border to keep out people from South America and so on and so forth. And that's why the order gives directives to both the Secretary of Homeland Security and also the Secretary of State. As for Benin Republic next door, that Senate, 25 of them, 24 voted for yesterday. It's not really so much about Patrice Talon because all former presidents are there, former speakers are there, former presidents of the Constitutional Court. It's like an elders committee to provide some kind of oversight and to exercise veto. And, that issue about legitimacy was raised. But everybody there at one point or the other had been elected. And it's not to supervise the presidency. It's to be an advisory body, as one professor of law pointed out. Who sits at the top of the Senate? No, it's just a body of elders and advisors. No, he was voted president only yesterday, and he has a term of 5 years.
We are not be akin to that. We have an advisory council of past heads of state, even here in Nigeria, don't we?
Yeah, we have a council of state. What we have is a council of state. But this is different because it has veto power. The one in Nigeria has no veto power. And it's advisory.
And Talon sits on top of it. Okay.
Yes.
No, it can be rotated.
Okay. We'll see.
Anyway, thank you very much, Ade.
Most welcome.
We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Adeyinka Olumide Fusika, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, I catch you. I find out what you do.
I just download Glow Cafe app.
Waiting now on it.
It they do everything.
You check balance.
See, get that road.
Special offer.
Plenty.
Aha, you get that one.
It dark pass coffee.
You get security.
Double verification.
You pay bills.
100.
Music on go.
You go turn DJ.
Video games.
No darling.
Baba, come. You get movies.
You get Glow TV. Delete yourself.
I bet what be that one?
Like Gloria, she be AI and she dey speak different language.
Ne, a bit kissy. Album AI. I bet you see me cook.
I just ordered pizza from Glow Cafe app.
Oh, mad. Hey! Blue Cafe, 100 gigabytes free. Oh, guys.
Download the brand new Glow Cafe app. We AI the power. Welcome to everything.
You only live once, so what's stopping you from living this life on 100? The youths of Aba and Enugu showed up and showed out at the gathering on 100. They were about their business. They played their hearts out. And had the time of their life.
Amazing, electrifying, exciting.
They gathered in their thousands and hour after hour non-stop. They showed Naija what it means to truly live it 100.
A great future awaits you at Veritas University, Abuja, where champions are made. Screening for admission for the 2026-2027 session commences at the university campus in Buari, Abuja. Prospective candidates should come along with relevant documents and 2 recent passport photographs. Admission is available into all approved programs, including our newly introduced courses in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data science, information systems, and theater arts. Candidates are encouraged to upload their credentials through the admissions portal at www.admissions.veritas.edu.ng. For inquiries, call 0803 939 8830 or 0708 685 8143 or visit www.veritas.edu.ng. Veritas University, seeking the truth.
Since November 2022, the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke has become synonymous with many firsts. He is the first governor since the creation of Osun State to embark on construction of dual carriage roads in our historic towns of Ile-Ife, Ilesha, Ilaro-Ogun, Iwo, and Ede. These landmark urbanization projects include the ongoing 5-span Lagere flyover in Ile-Ife, the completed 10-span Okefia flyover, and Lameko flyover in Osogbo, as well as the opening up and tarring of hundreds of kilometers of rural roads in all the 30 local government areas of Osun State. In just 3 years, Governor Ademola Adeleke's administration has completed more than 1,000 various projects, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to sustainable development, improved infrastructure, and a better quality of life for the people of Osun State. The Adeleke touch is visible in all the nooks and crannies of Osun State. That is why the people stand with the Imole agenda, as they say, Imole, carry on accordingly. This message is brought to you by the Imole Campaign Council.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to immediately vacate the order freezing the accounts of the Osun State government. In a statement he personally issued on Thursday, Tinubu said he feels deeply embarrassed, not by the EFCC's exercise of his mandate, backed by a court order, but by the timing of the agency's action. The EFCC had obtained the order as part of its investigation into alleged financial infractions involving the Osun State government. The commission had earlier defended the move, insisting that his actions were within the law and that it had the authority to place restrictions on accounts suspected to be linked to financial crimes. Joining us on this show to discuss the EFCC's freezing of the state's account before Tinubu's intervention is Adeyinka Olumide Fushika, a senior advocate of Nigeria. He will also discuss the arrest of the Osun State government officials, as well as the Ademola Adeleke campaign and the Osun State government having accused the security agencies of targeting opposition figures in a political crackdown. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, I think the subject is straightforward and it's fresh enough. Latest developments in Osun State involving accounts, involving the EFCC, and then the president's intervention, and then the lead up to the election, the general atmosphere in Osun State. That's your state, by the way.
No.
Okay.
I'm from Ondo State.
Ondo State.
Yeah.
Oh, you're farther up north.
Well, Nigeria.
Okay.
First and foremost, I assume everything to be the way they've been reported in the press, because in this country, you only know what you know. You don't know what goes on behind. Yeah. Let's talk about the statements, timing and so on and so forth. So what would be the right time? What would have been the right time if you concede to the EFCC the right to do what it did, then what's in the president's own thinking would have been the right time for the EFCC to do what it did? The truth of the matter, why is it so controversial? It is undeniable, unless we are deceiving ourselves, that most of these politicians, campaign funding, especially the ones that put a lot of money into campaigns, despite the law that says that places restrictions on what you can spend during campaign times and all that. It is a fact, even though one may not be able to pinpoint it exactly, but it is a fact that it is government money that is a public fund that is channeled to campaigns in Nigeria. So that when you are not in government, when you are an opposition person, you cannot compete. So when they talk about structure, things like that, they are talking about people who have access to free fund from government, money they should use for education, for health, for all that. They divert it into political campaigns, and we have slight instances of that, even taking government money when they are doing election petition to pay lawyers, pay all sorts, take it out of government. So what would be the right time for the FCC to have? I'm not, defending. I don't personally believe that the EFCC is a super state that has the right to go and freeze the state government account. I don't subscribe to that, I think, in my view, because if you say it's money linked, accounts linked to whatever corruption, to go and freeze a government account, I think that if there's any provision in the law that permits that, I wouldn't support it. It's a state, it's like EFCC now going to freeze the federal government account during elections to say, I don't think, because the account is not meant for that purpose. So when you say it's linked to, I don't subscribe to it. But the point I'm trying to make is that what would have been the right time to freeze the account, assuming the EFCC has the power to do what it did. The reason why both sides are, the people campaigning against Adeleke believe that the way to cripple him is to prevent him from having access to funds for his election. It's still the same old story about local government fund in Osun State. The old holabaloo about local government funds for the purpose of preventing. They are not talking about whether the money will be used for the people or to fund government programs and all that. The whole calculation is cripple him financially so that he doesn't have access to government fund to fund this, to use for political purpose or purposes. So that is what all this is all about. I'm not saying that that is the reason why the EFCC did it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the problem that the EFCC may have been trying to solve or to prevent or from their own argument is, look, you don't wait until the money has been taken out of and frittered away before you put a stop to it. So that may have been their own logic. So is the president now saying that, okay, allow them to take the money out first and then you come back later I really don't understand.
Actually, some people have the position that efforts should be more on chasing the money that's already gone out, because the account that was frozen by the FCC was a salary account. In doing so, under this investigation, if it had been prolonged, you would then impact the people who had no business to do with the actions of the government. What do you have to say about that? Because if it's a salary account that's been frozen, it means that Osun workers would not get their salaries. It means that some of the palliative measures that the governor had said he was embarking on would not be done. So you have almost collateral damage. What is the best way to address this? And then I want to go back to a question, what you said around, we know that this is going to go into political campaigns. To be fair, not every Nigerian knows this, because that's not the way it's supposed to be ideally. So the question would then be, how do we strengthen institutions to ensure that the commonwealth of the people is not frittered away for personal political gain?
Just one caveat. In the Osun State statement, which I read yesterday, the Osun State government made it very clear that the money from that salary account was used to pay for palliatives that have been agreed with the workers' union in Osun State. So, and that the money had even been already disbursed, and that there's no 11 billion that is missing. That's what they said. Yes. So the money actually went to the workers.
So should they chase after where the money went to chase after the money?
Well, let me
to investigate that trail. If you went to the workers, you can get a trail from where the money was transferred to the workers.
Well, let me clarify first. I'm not saying that Osun State. I'm not in Osun. I'm not voting in Osun. I don't know anything about. I'm not saying that the Osun State government, that what I said as prefatory to is what is happening here. I'm saying that the reason why they are both, local government funds, this and that, is because they know what they do. This opposition party was also in government before, so they know what they do with government fund when it comes to campaign. That's what I've said. I'm not saying that is what has happened in this particular instance. Now, talking about palliative, the money is meant for palliative, and so what is palliative? What exactly is palliative? If you are paying palliative why don't you pay your workers proper salary? Why do they need palliative? Why do you need to do them any special favor? Why don't you just give, and this is the salary of this person and he gets it? Why do you need to give him palliative? Give him
under the current
rice, bag of rice and things like that.
They give them, I think, 15,000.
Yes, we have when they increase in fuel prices. I'm not making a case for anyone. I'm just saying that based on what has occurred in other states, we've praised governors who, based on the increase in petrol prices because of geopolitical tensions, they gave palliatives, cushion. That's another conversation. But
they don't need to give palliative. Okay, they should pay living wages to their workers. Not paying it at the moment. What they should do.
So they should not.
They shouldn't be subject to someone's...
No, he hasn't answered my question around strengthening institutions. I don't want us to talk about, because we want to look at the legal framework. So strengthening institutions around that, and then should the EFCC go after the end point rather than concentrating on freezing? You're talking about the extent of their powers.
Well, I've listened to interview by the current chairman of the EFCC, and when he came in saying that what they would try to do is to prevent rather than being reactive, If you know that money is going to be taken out for an illegal purpose, prevent it. Don't wait until it is taken out, before. Get me right. As a lawyer, I do not believe that the EFCC should be vested with the power to, be seizing government, state government accounts, whichever government. I don't believe it. And I'm not going to canvass for that. But
strengthening institutions very quickly.
I think we should when we talk about strengthening institution, I think it's ourselves that we should strengthen. You know, it's all about us. These laws are there, you know. There's one example I normally give. The Electoral Act, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, we amend it every market day, you know.
Every market day.
Amend and amend and amend. So the problem is not with the law. The problem is with us. So it's for those running these institutions to know that they are, especially the non-partisan, the non-political ones, EFCC, DSS, police, and all that, to know that they are not serving individuals. They are serving the people of Nigeria. They shouldn't, they are not serving any political party. I mean, and they should see themselves as being in office to promote the interest of Nigeria, not to promote the interest of anybody. So the problem is not with the law, it is with the people running it. So we should strengthen our own capacity, you know, to be resistant, you know, to temptations of all sorts and do the right thing. That is what we should do. It's not about the law. So the institutions are there. It is the people running it that should behave.
Okay. I mean, so for the sake of public interest, you want to declare, do you have any interests in this matter to any of the parties?
Interest? I'm not a politician.
And have you represented any of the parties before?
No. I don't.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about that.
Okay, so we just all declare so that we all know.
No. I don't. I've not represented any party.
Any of the party, not EFCC, not anybody within the fold of EFCC?
I tried to represent EFCC once and it didn't.
Okay, so you had dealings with the EFCC. Yes. So, okay, it's good we establish.
Well, when I say I tried to prosecute for them once and
it backfired.
Not backfired. I didn't think I was doing it. I just, removed myself from it because I didn't believe
so you had relations
with yes.
So, I mean, I get your argument. In fact, it's terrible to say I want to make a sound argument better for them, but let me give you some empirical facts to making your argument about these transfers. Osun State workforce is about 30,000 civil servants. That's a big voting bloc. 30,000 civil servants and the ability to influence, let's say, if average family has about 3 people close to them, ability to influence another 30,000 times 3, that's about 90,000, So if the disbursement goes out, I'm trying to think like you now, if the disbursement goes out and the money hits them, they get excited. 3 people, and they can get 3 people else to vote. Maybe if you even cut around the number, maybe let's say 40, 50,000 block votes. All right. And that's always the arguments they make across every part of the country. But everybody does it. All right. Even the party that is making allegations against this party, they all too do it. I mean, just like I don't understand how you have most governors from the APC already in the states, rather than for them sitting there in their own states, they're already in another state to be able to prosecute the election. It is the same thing. These are the cultures we should take away from our political system.
And if you check, most of those governors, they've taken money from their state for the purpose of
so go and prosecute election in your state, you can check. And that's the way the country runs.
So that's why the FCC should spread this very wide.
Yes. So and that's why I want to now come back. Why is it that the EFCC did not spread its tentacle wide enough? Because Wilson Owujare from the EFCC has said that there were other people being investigated. You raised the alarm on Osun alone. You've not spread the tentacles. The other governors from the other states, it's not that they will come with empty hand now. At least Okpebolo is already there campaigning in a state that is not the same Okpebolo. If you remember that said Peter Obi should not come to any state. Can we also ask, has he taken permission from Governor Adeleke to come to Osun State? You see the hypocrisy of the Nigerian politician. So it's not that they're going to come there empty-handed. Can EFCC to also spread the tentacle across? Why does it look as if it's selective and political? And secondly, was there no institutional circumspection before decisions were taken that it took the president to now say no to a decision of an institution? Was there no institutional circumspection? I mean, since you had talked to them in the past, you were trying to say, they should have at least called in someone like, what does it mean? What's the implication? Is there no circumspection?
The circumspection is that if, like I said, if what we were told is correct, is that the EFCC went to court. The court is supposed to be the one to look at what the EFCC has brought and make a decision. Is this...
Did they go to court? Because ADC is challenging
the president said they went to court, that they acted on the court order.
Because, please correct me if I'm wrong, we had an interview yesterday. Was a court order mentioned?
At that time, no, but they said they were going to proceed.
Are you doubting the president?
No, so as at that time when we had the interview in the morning, they just said they have a statutory law, a 72-hour notice to be able to do it.
I want to go by what the president said. The president said that he must have seen a court order before saying so.
But so that means they had done the freeze before they effected the court order.
Look, the point you are making, I get it well. People holding this kind of offices should learn from what has happened. Politicians, it's about their interest. If you are chairman of EFCC, director of DG or DSS, Inspector General of Police or whatever, all these, offices, I think they should just realize from this one now that the only loyalty they can count on at the end of the day, it is that of the people. And loyalty of the people wouldn't change so long as they believe that you've done the right thing. Politicians don't mind throwing you under the bus if it serves their interest, So I wouldn't want to say more than that. People should learn from what has happened. Serve the people. If you are occupying these offices, serve the people to the best of your ability. Your conscience, you will clear that what you are doing is for the people. The point you have made, we've had the election, I think we have a Osako election in Ekiti. They didn't freeze the Ekiti state government account, because the same argument that they are going to use money for electoral purpose would have also. So they didn't freeze the Ekiti state government account. So whatever you do it in such a way that everybody will see that you are doing the right thing. It's not that you are targeting any particular person or promoting any particular political interest. But as to the problem the EFCC is trying to solve, against the background of what I've said, I don't think that the EFCC should have the power to freeze government accounts. That's my own personal view. As to that problem, we can't deny it now. That they take money, they spend money recklessly. Money to go and, all they are paying people 40,000, 30,000 on polling. They are not using their personal funds.
Yes.
It's money stolen from government. So, the EFCC maybe have been trying to solve that problem. Whether, they went it the right way or whatever, we shouldn't lose sight of that and begin to condemn and say, no. That problem is there. How we are going to solve it? I think I granted an interview to. I said, if you want to be doing that, then anytime we are having election, even federal government accounts should be frozen. Agencies accounts should be frozen, because all these people in the opposition too, they are occupying one office or the other. Head of parastatals and things like that and all that. And you don't know what money they are taking out of that place to go and fund the Osun government, Osun election and all that, But we shouldn't lose sight of that problem. That money that is meant to build schools, to build hospitals, they are not doing all that. They will tell you government has no business in all those things, but they have business in taking money to go and spend on election.
Okay, almost like a typical Nigerian cultural problem.
Well, it shouldn't be cultural. We should fight it.
Yes, well,
should resist it.
That's the other side of it. Thank you very much, Olumide Fusika, SAN, for joining us on the morning show. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Oluwafemi Adebayo, Head of Research and Strategy, Impact Development Initiative. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% yeah.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rents, I saved for this one separately on Money Point.
You say you save on Money Point?
Yes.
This Madam Money Point here, the array of your dryer there is target savings Money Points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fee savings Money Points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, Money Point save as you transact. Money Point fixed savings and Money Point target savings.
Why the German won't contribute to it? Why should they? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see Money Point accounts there. You know, go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my salon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the Money Point app now. It's for you. What are you waiting for?
Download the Money Point banking app now and start saving with the bank you can trust.
Money Point, made for your progress.
I grew up in Imesili. We started business as LBA in 1988. 7 years later, we started exporting cocoa to Europe, UK, and US. This is what we have been doing up to now. In business, you see, there's always up and down in any business. The only thing we need is perseverance. One should be able to stand and know what you want, be focused. About 4 or 5 years after starting the business, we bought some cocoa at high price with the hope of selling. But when the dollar was deregulated, there was shortfall, gap. We had some challenges, got some loans, we were working, exporting. At the end of the day, we came back into the business full. UBA Bank is very, very supportive. When you are talking of banks, you are not talking of the structures, not the building, but those people behind the veil. That is, we are talking of the leadership, the workers, very, very effective in discharging their duties. So we enjoy their performances very well.
You have gotten the contract. Have you checked for red flags? Red flag.
What is a red flag? Allowing your company to fall into inactive status on the Corporate Affairs Commission portal is a red flag. Businesses marked inactive may come under watch for suspicious activities, money laundering, kidnapping, or terrorism financing.
Red flags. We have filed our annual returns with the CAC.
Ensure your company remains active. File your annual returns every year. Corporate Affairs Commission, keeping your business safe and compliant.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. All eyes will be on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, as we gradually approach the Osun State governorship election. In preparation for the election, INEC has assured voters that a technical glitch which prevented the bimodal voter accreditation system from recognizing some old permanent voter cards during last Saturday's mock accreditation exercise in Osun State has been resolved. Chairman of the Commission, Josh Omiputon, said the successful conduct of the mock accreditation exercise reinforced the Commission's preparedness to conduct a credible, free and fair governorship election in Osun on August 15. Joining us on the show to discuss whether there should be concerns around INEC's readiness for the Osun State election is Oluwafemi Adebayo, Head of Research and Strategy, Kimpact Development Initiative. Good morning, Ms. Adebayo. Thanks for joining us today on The Morning Show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, Mr. Adebayo, you are head of research and strategy. Well, the research part is very instructive. So from your findings, do you think INEC is ready for the Osun State August 15 gubernatorial elections, which some analysts have said will be yet another major test for INEC under the watch of Professor Amopiton? Any research findings? And what are your conclusions?
I think in terms of the conversation around the preparedness of INEC, administratively, or let me just say on paper, it's obvious that the INEC will always mention the fact that they are, prepared, and they would also tick some of the boxes to say, oh, we've started distributing PVC, we've done mock accreditation and all. So, but the true test to actually say INEC really prepared for the elections will actually be what happened, what happened on the election day. So, but the basic thing is to look at the accreditation process or the mock accreditation process exercise that was conducted August 1st. And the conversation is there were a lot of news that filtered out. We monitored the process. We saw where people were also raising concerns about the widespread issues around accreditation. But one thing that is very important, which is the response of the national chairman that also said this was fixed within 1 hour, and it's a problem of the hold cards were not, accredited due to similarity scores or compatibility scores. That was the expression of the national chairman. But again, it calls to question about do PVC have a role in accreditation process? That's really the first question. And it triggered the attention of someone like me and, of course, Impact Development Initiative. We started asking questions because even from the days of the Professor Yakubu Mahmoud, there have been conversation around the fact that BVAS doesn't have a role in accreditation. It's just for identification. But, turning pages of INEC official document, and if you look at the guidelines, you look at the manual for election officials, for the manual for the election officials, so that's where you see the step-by-step of the process. One of the things that we now saw is that, number one, there are 3 major ways at which you can actually identify the voter. And one of the things is, number one, the surname of the voter, the last 6 digits of the voter identification number, which is popularly called NIN. And the last aspect, which is written inside that manual, is that BVAS can also scan the QR code at the back of the PVC. So if the problem is, let's just assume that there have been so much of lack of transparency around that before now, communication from the commission has been talking about PVC. You use your fingerprint and facial for accreditation. So PVC doesn't have a role in that. But if the problem is the whole PVC, but the voter has surname, the voter also has the VIN, the last 6 digits of the VIN. So, these are some of the questions that, now started, getting us curious to be able to probe and ask more questions around this. While old PVC may be a problem, but I think it's not sufficient enough to talk about as an explanation for what happened in the mock accreditation in Osun State. And again, the question again is, what is the state of BVAS? It's a very important question. BVAS, from our understanding, was procured largely somewhere around 2019, because the first major governorship election where BVAS was used is in 2020, off-cycle governorship election in Edo 2020. And if you look at that, the question now is, what are the infrastructure that BVAS works with? And one of the things we did was to go into the books and look at it. It's not publicly available in terms of the build number, the operating system at which BVAS works on. would try to inquire. Of course, because of the timing, not official, we've not made any official inquiry. But if you look at everything that is available in INEC document, one of the things that is pointing about is that Beavers may likely, some people said, because we asked poll workers, that Beavers is operating between OS, Android version between 2 and 3, but I don't want to agree with that. I don't want to believe that. But because that is currently we're running on Android version 17, 16, 17. And now Beavers will be working or running on Android 3 or 2. That is really, I don't want to believe that. So now looking at the official document and screenshot of Beavers that is in INEC official document, number one, if we look at the customization, from even the icon, the layout. If you look at some of the widgets, if you look at some of the iconography on Beavers, it is leaning towards Beavers may be operating between Android 6, Android 7, or Android 7, version 7. And Android version 7, 6 or 7, as it is, has been released since 2016, 2017. And if you look at the timeline from that time till now, that's about 10, 11 years. And I don't know of any known Android version that security patches were released beyond 5 or 7 years. So it then calls to question about actually the operating system that Beavers is running on, which is a major concern, because if we're still running on Android 6 or Android 7 with Beavers, then it's a concern about how processing are done accurately, smartly with Beavers. Again, what is the implication of this whole conversation around operating system on the hardware? Publicly available information about Beavers in terms of the hardware also shows fingerprint sensor. But away from fingerprint sensor, there are also the biometrics processor that is also an hardware component, but maybe not visible on the outside. We're also not sure if Beavers has that component, because that is what also increases the reliability, the smartness, and how processing is done pretty fast, right? Okay. It doesn't mean that fingerprint sensor cannot do the job. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the question is the relationship between the lower OS that may not have security patches any longer, the smartness of that OS, and because that OS is almost 10 to 11 years. That's another question. And because we're going into 2027 general elections, which is a massive election. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo, for this, shall I call it revelation or outcome from your observation, especially your analysis of the mock accreditation process that was held last week. For what I hear, one of the major challenges of Beavers failing is that the Beavers itself is outdated, whether software or hardware. So there are indications that the software that's being used by Beavers is outdated. And if this is the case, it means that if it is not upgraded ahead of 2027, we will still have the same challenges in the elections, right? Correct?
So I think the word is the operating system.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. So software.
The operating system of Beavers.
Okay. So operating system of Beavers. So what does INEC need to do to ahead of, well, I don't know if they can do anything before the Osun elections in only a matter of days, but ahead of 2027? Because what we hear reports, oh, we are ready, everything is fine, but the outcome of your investigation, differs from INEC's statement and INEC's position. However, we can still rectify, hopefully, the situation ahead of 2027. What must be done? What needs to be done based on your observations, based on your report?
I think what is important is that INEC needs to also be open and transparent to also, talk about the state of the operating system of Beavers. That's the very first thing. I think Nigerian voters and Nigerians deserve to actually understand this and know what Android version that, or the operating system that Beavers, runs and operates on. And again, I think there is also a need for a comprehensive explanation of whatever happened in Osun, because I think the conversation or the response or the explanation of Beavers, it's actually incomplete. It's actually, there are other technical things that could be responsible for it, like I said, in the aspect of OS. And I think also, if it is, the major thing is, operating system can be upgraded, operating system, but however, if the operating system you're running on a device, if it's not compatible with the hardware, there will be problem. So what it means is that if INEC needs to talk about procuring a new set of upgraded beavers that also have an OS that is compatible with the hardware, so that you don't put what is the OS that is bigger than the strength of the hardware of beavers currently. So even if you're upgrading, then it's going to be casualty. It's going to be, you're going to be having problem with it. So the basic thing I'm just saying is that if INEC needs to procure, it's important to start talking about that now. It's important to let Nigerians know. It's important to be open and to be transparent about it. Because this issue of aged voter, elderlies, not being accredited easily, didn't start in Osun. There were cases of that in Anambra. There were cases of that in a particular area in actually Ondo State. And because it was not widespread, it was, maybe possibly in terms of response, they were able to do that. But those were just governorship elections. Off-circle governorship election, polling unit on the average in each of the states I mentioned, maybe barely 3,005. But we're entering into 2027 where polling unit is over 176,000 plus. And I think it's important for INEC to be able to prepare adequately for that. Otherwise, accreditation will be a major point of discussion when it comes to 2027 general election. And also, INEC needs to really clarify the role of permanent voters card in accreditation process. I think that is very important.
So because part of INEC's budget, there's a line item for beavers, upgrades and everything. Do you envisage that that's going to be for what you're talking about? Because, and why I ask is, if you're saying that the OS has a big problem now, how many months are we before election? About 5-6 months. That's an Herculean task. Do you think can it be practically done before the elections in January? Honestly, because what it means is that you have to get new hardwares, that, you put new softwares, that you run the OS on it and all of that. How practical? Because that's going to involve orders, though. I'm sure probably they have to import. Is there anywhere where you make those tablets in this country? Or maybe they are going to bring in CKD, parts of those tablets and assembly. I don't even know why INEC by now, with the level of tablets we have, are not even bringing in CKD and making those tablets in situ. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't have facts on that. I don't like to say things I don't have facts on. Then you have to bring it. Then you have to clear for customs. Then you have to make the order. Then you have to do the engineering work. Then you even have to now update the information on that, OS and that everything ecosystem. Is this tenable? Because what you are saying invariably is that Osun elections are already flawed. That's what you've just said invariably. Because if the OS is an old OS, the mock pretty much failed, then you are saying Osun election has failed. That's what, because they can't even fix it 10 days before the elections. You are saying the Osun election is failed already on the terms of technical competence. That's what you're saying. And please, we'd like to call on INEC to come and explain.
INEC had actually said that they rectified this in an hour, according to INEC, right? And they said they've been able to do things that will help the process and all. But I think the question and the thought from me is that there should be thorough explanation about what happened, because PVC explanation is not sufficient to explain whatsoever happened. And again, it's also very important that INEC should also look at the compatibility of the process at which they retrieve voters' information. And I think that is very clear, because what INEC does, and I think Nigerians deserve to know, is that when you get to the polling unit, you give either they check your PVC to get your surname or the last 6 digits of the VIN, and retrieve your data from the loaded information on PVC. And the next thing that they do is to now check if your fingerprint matches the record that they've retrieved. Now, the problem again would be, or could be rather, or may have been the fact that the process of retrieving the data from beavers, which is still conversation of also software now, the software being used, is it compatible with the Android version that is also there? Knowing fully well that beavers may be running on a lower Android version. And if you have a software that was built and designed actually for an higher version, there might be a problem. And that is also compatibility related conversation. So for me, INEC needs to, if they've not done that, there should be an independent audit into that process and to be able to do what it is and also explain to Nigerians what exactly that they should expect, right? So again, as we move into Osun, it's also very important that INEC should know that transparency will save the day. Because as it stands today, as an organization in KDI, we also track election security. And if you look at the state of election security in Osun people are actually, the psychological component of violence, which is fear, is not as a result of the violence. It's not about the violence that has happened. It's actually about the one that they don't know when it will happen. It on the election day. So again, everybody is fully charged. Every of the Osun people are charged. There are also conversation about their consciousness about the elections. So again, operational realities of INEC needs to be perfect. They need to also create a level of confidence in Nigerians, especially Osun people, because at the end of the day, so that it won't be INEC versus Osun citizens and indigents. Of course, we call for peace in the process, but INEC needs to understand that transparency, openness, clarity would also help in the process, so that Nigerians understand the limitations, understand the challenges and the issues.
All right. Thank you so very much for your time with us today, Mr. Olufemi Adebayo. We hope that this would be a wake-up call for INEC as we prepare for not just the Osun elections in a few days, but also for the 2027 elections. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Roto Sudiri to give us updates on global business activities. Stay with us.
When it comes to the best of personal finance, the best thing has come to you. With Vault, all you need to do is lock in. With the Polaris Salary Advance, you can get up to 50% of net monthly salary in under a minute with Vault or with our smart code *833*12#. Available 24/7, just lock in. With the Polaris term loan, you get access to up to 30 million naira via Vault and at all Polaris branches with monthly installments spread across 36 months. Just lock in. The Polaris Asset Finance or Buy Now Pay Later with financing of up to 1 million naira to be paid back across 12 months and without equity. Just lock in. Lock in with Vault by Polaris, or you can dial *833*12#. Open 24/7 and within minutes, all from the comfort of your mobile phone. Open a Polaris salary account and open new levels. Download Vault by Polaris Bank, available both on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Polaris Bank.
You only live once, so what's stopping you from living this life on 100? The youths of Aba and Enugu showed up and showed out at the gathering on 100. They were about their business. They played their hearts out. And had the time of their life.
Amazing, electrifying, exciting.
They gathered in their thousands and hour after hour non-stop. They showed Naija what it means to truly live it 100.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Morning, Dr. Basse. Morning,
Welcome, Rotus. Good morning.
Has Panama crossed 1 billion?
It should have this week. It should have already. We'll see how well it does
Rotus,
this weekend.
Rotus, justice for Nollywood movies. I want you to also give
They
us
should give us their costs. How much does it cost to make a
Omotara
Nollywood
Johnson.
film?
I saw it in the
Omotara
cinema. Very good movie. I
Johnson,
like
Call
it.
of a Lifetime.
Omotara Johnson.
How much did they cost to me? How much did they cost to me?
I don't know.
So is it
Let's
profitable?
ask Buki Rights.
That's the problem. You see, we don't know. At least we know China one costs 275 million. But let's start with oil, right? You guys have already touched on this. So oil volatility just keeps going like that. 83.33 for Brent. We understand another vessel, according to reports, was hit in the Strait of Hormuz early hours of this morning. Houthis attacking vessels in the I think, so what is it, 7 or 11 civilians were injured over in the Red Sea. Iran, this we understand according to reports, they've now have some draft of an agreement with Oman. They didn't even mention the United States. So all this talk from Trump, they just said this is it's called Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz to the north, Oman controls it to the south. So according to this draft agreement, which is according to FARS, which is their media-affiliated, state-sponsored media outlet, that U.S. and Israeli vessels will be barred from the strait. But then how many vessels from the U.S. and it's not like they carry flags and you know where these vessels are coming from. I think this is just symbolic. They said this is key here. They said hostile nations will have to pay to cross through the strait. I think this is referring to Gulf nations that have been supportive of the U.S. administration. Thank you, Saudis, UAE, and so on and so forth. So that's a bulk of oil supply going through there. And then they said Iran is going to manage the straits to the north, and Oman apparently will manage it to the south. Again, they said the Iranian parliament is reviewing this as we speak. So no updates. Speaking of parliaments, Mohammed Baghdad was mocking Trump on Twitter. So he said, a quote, massive attack coming. Oh, wait, never mind. They want to renegotiate. He said he accused Trump of theater diplomacy. They're just mocking him at this point. They don't take him serious. That's theater diplomacy on loop. Using bullying plus broken promises plus fake news as leverage is a failed strategy. Acknowledge the facts and fulfill your commitments. We don't need more theater. So that's the latest. They're coming from the Iranians. China's trade surplus kind of narrowed in July, 112.5 billion. June was 125. But look at electronics. This is part of this, AI components. 116% jump there. And vehicles, China continues to dominate in terms of vehicle exports. 60% increase in July. So the ECB, the Financial Times is reporting that the ECB said it was blindsided by the Trump administration's decision to sell euros to prop up the yen. According to what they're reporting, it said that Scott Bessent, who of course, this is Japan's finance minister, Bessent, and of course, Christine Lagarde, they said they didn't talk until after. And this continues a behavior of this administration in the US that just does its own thing and then now lets allies know. Because
apparently they didn't want to sell dollars because that would weaken the dollar, and Besant wants a strong dollar. So of course, the impact of the US selling a bunch of euros, you still don't have the actual amount. That of course would have an impact on the euro currency. So it's just very shaky diplomacy between the US and its allies, and we continue to see it here in this particular action. President Tinubu hosted the board of the NGX, the stock market, at the Villa, talked about a number of things, but I think first off, here he is praising the central bank governor, Yemi Cardoso, for the work. We talked about volatility yesterday. I think I have that chart again, but listen to the president in talking up on the monetary side, the CBN governor.
It's a thing of joy to have this feedback. When we took over, it was very challenging. What I did was talk to myself and define my background, accept the asset and liability of my predecessor. I asked for the job. I got to do it. And a capable partner in one of the thinking and reasoning between Yemi Cardoso. So who can I put in CBN? We are in negative. If we say we have monetary policy or the reserve, it was in negative. You have 30 trillion printed and outstanding liability. There is no counterpart and hope of repayment. So, sincerely, Yemi, thank you very much. Congratulations.
All right, and again, I'll just continue to reference these charts. Volatility, exchange rates, that of course to the monetary side. He also talks about the private sector investing, encouraging the private sector to invest. He credited President Buhari for his work in getting the Dangote refinery on stream, also praising Dangote as well. Just essentially telling the NGX to get to this $1 trillion economy, the domestic economy has to be part of that story.
It will encourage the private sector to invest and invest wisely, take a risk. It's one of the reasons why I backed Aliko Dangote. Thank you very much. Even before I became president, and, may God bless the soul of Mamadou Buhari. When we were talking, this refinery and all of that. Why should we have this? Okay, we find a way. If we can push it to the private sector, if we can support the private sector, it will be a great benefit. And they did it. So, fine.
I was going to talk about this. So while everyone talks about electricity this, electricity that, us in the business community, we talk about investing and making money, right? So I talked about this 729 or 28 billion bond issue, which is part of the 4 trillion naira program to pay off the Gencos or the debt from 2015 to 2025. It's been talked about a lot. This is a real thing. So there are asset managers that are coming out to the markets and saying, listen, this is what it is. So the government is actually coming to the private sector to raise this money. So it's 2 tranches. 400 billion in one tranche A, then 328.9 tranche B. And this is from NBET Finance Company PLC, which is a special purpose vehicle under NBET itself. The guarantor is the federal government. And minimum subscription is 5 million naira. So looking for serious people, serious investment in here. And the book build price is between 17.85 to 17.9. Where is inflation now? 15.91. So positive real rates of return. So if you've made a lot of money in the stock market, that is before the 2025 rally, on the equity side, some of your profits you take off and say you can portfolio diversify and put that into a bond. Even this week, the federal government retail savings bond, a minimum of 5,000 naira, that window is closing this week. So as I tell people all the time, please, your financial advisor should be on your speed dial along with your pastor, imam, and your medical doctor. I think this is on NNPC privatization. Commission. The president actually said, because the Petroleum Industry Act calls for the listing of the NPC on the NGX. He said he doesn't want to do in pieces. He says he's talked about listing the entire thing on the exchange.
The expansion is for all for us. I could look back and look at Aramco and others and see how the oil producing of Saudi Arabia was, the life of publicly quoted company. We can refine and do NNPC, reform to the extent that one day the totality of it, not just the arms and legs, the totality of it will be listed.
That's it. We're done.
Okay, thank you, Rotus. It's time now for a short break. When we return, Anieze Osakwe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
They do inside freezer. You dey take breeze. You dey learn work. You know you say if you freeze am, you go dey reach small. See this one.
A recent German geological survey estimates Nigeria mineral wealth at $700 billion, a conservative figure likely to rise with further exploration. Yet, the sector contributes less than 1% to GDP. Fidelity Bank has climbed to the top of Nigerian banking industry as the highest contributor to non-oil export foreign exchange earnings. The key, our in-depth understanding of what constitutes bankable projects. At Fidelity Bank Corporate, we provide blended finance, patient equity, rigorous counterparty screening, international off-taker purchase guarantees, escrow management, FX hedging, and regulatory coordination. The outcome, finance plans generating 10,000 plus jobs, significant export revenue, and positioning Nigeria in global supply chains. We turn vision into bankable projects with proven financing architecture. Speak to us today. Thank you.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome to Licky Licky.
Are you tired of the same old news cycle? Ready to spice things up?
Welcome to Rise 360, your ultimate backstage pass to everything entertainment, art, and culture.
From the glitz and glam of Hollywood to the hottest African stars, Rise 360 brings you closer to the action. From music to the latest movies, we've got it all. Why scroll endlessly on your phone when we can bring the world of entertainment straight to you?
We're talking exclusive interviews, red carpet moments, and behind-the-scenes stories that will keep you buzzing.
Let's celebrate the vibrant culture and creativity that makes us proud to be Nigerian. This is a Rise 360.
Where entertainment meets lifestyle.
With a dash of spice. Catch us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the Arise News Channel.
And now,
let's get this party started!
Good morning. Good morning to everyone out there. It is Friday, August 7, and we are coming on the air with fallout from President Tinubu picking up the phone and calling the Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke to tell him that he directed the EFCC to unfreeze the state's accounts, why Adeleke is still suing the EFCC for 2 billion naira. Plus, the terrifying moments inside an Air India flight when it dropped 300 feet midair on its way to Delhi from Phuket. 17 people were hurt here. And a devastating story from Uganda. One of its biggest footballers, David Owori, has died after being violently attacked by robbers. Reports say he pushed back when robbers tried to steal his cell phone. May his soul rest in peace. I'm Anyeza Osakwe in for Oji Okpe, and this is What's Trending. Now, before we get into the show, let's highlight what you're talking about right now. As always, we have our team tracking conversations on X, Facebook, our YouTube Live, and of course, Leke, and 3 stories are dominating your timelines this morning. Trending at number 1, President Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, officially cleared of any blame in the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council saga. Not quite the same, though, for Adeniyi Adeyemi, who might be looking at prosecution for running this fake agency. Trending at number 2, this tourist going viral for saying that fuel prices in Nigeria are way higher than Europe, especially for being an oil-producing country. Make that make sense. And trending at number 3, crowds and crowds of people all queuing up for Enugu's College of Nursing exam, why this field is so popular and increasingly becoming competitive. We'll discuss later in the show. But here's where you come in. Join the conversation. Use the hashtag What's Trending with Oji Okpe. Comment on our live feed and on Leke, and tell us which of these stories matters most to you and what's trending in your community. Because we're getting into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing this morning. But first, we are getting some extraordinary campaign rhetoric out of Osun State, with Edo State Governor Monday Okpebolo questioning the public at an APC rally in Osogbo on Thursday, whether they're not tired of Governor Ademola Adeleke's non-stop dancing. For Okpebolo, if he's spending so much time dancing, is the governor actually getting any work done? Let's see what he had to say.
If somebody sign paper, he will dance. Are you not tired? For 4 years, this man has been dancing. Before he take breakfast, before he drink tea, he will dance. I was asking my friend, and I said, I can't even remember when I saw this man in our general meeting in Abuja. Before he even entered the plane, he will dance. Before he got there, we had closed. So he won't know what we are saying. He doesn't know the reality of today. If they bring money, chop that money from them, but don't vote for them. They said they have money to spend. Is that not so? Just collect the money, keep it in your pocket. That man is Obaseki's friend. You know we kick Obaseki out of it, though. So we have to kick his friend out of this place too. And those people chop Obaseki's money, but they never vote for him. But they kick him out. A governor that is not working, the best gift for him is to send him out of that state. If he's not working, what business does he have here? Does he have any business? Abojo! On the 15th, what are we doing? Are you not tired of dancing, governor?
Now, for context, this was Okpebolo speaking at an APC campaign rally in support of the party's governorship candidate, Bola Oyebamiji, aka Ambo. Strong words towards the dancing governor. But why does this matter? Why are we essentially leading the entire show with this? Because beneath the jokes, Okpebolo said something worth doing a double take on. In that clip, he also advised voters to take cash from political opponents and pretend like they'll vote for them. That is electoral fraud, plain and simple. taking money and committing to voting for a particular person. And that statement from a serving governor shouldn't be lost in all of the conversations taking place on Osun State today. So before I take one reaction to what the governor said, let me say good morning and TGIF to the morning show team. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo. And good morning to you, Dr. Abaji. Now, Rufai, I'll come to you on this first story. But first, Christian on X said, Okpebolo should be careful. He's still relatively new in Edo State. Mocking another governor's personality is easy. Delivering visible results in your own state is harder. Nigerian voters are not as stupid as politicians assume. They can enjoy the comedy and still vote based on the pocket and their road. Now, Rufai, your assessment of Okpebolo's comments and, of course, making fun of Adeleke's dancing, telling candidates to take cash from political opponents in the context of everything you've been talking about on Osun State this morning.
Okay. So
to dance or to not dance?
The dance or to not dance. Maybe Governor Okpebolo is jealous that he cannot dance like Adeleke. So that's why he had the affectation with dancing. I'm not saying don't give political jabs. If in your statement you had said XYZ was not done, Adeleke did not meet this development quota, you stick to the issues, I would debate that. But if you are berating a man for dancing, we can put videos of Okpebolo to dancing now. Has he not tried to dance once or twice in a rally? So, but all of this is all political speak, so I don't really worry. But I think it should be issue-based. But I think the most important thing we'd like to ask Okpebolo here is that, has he collected security clearance from Adeleke before he enters Adeleke's states? Because you remember the case of Peter Obi, where he said, if anybody wants to come to my state, it's just only best for you to collect or to inform me so that I'll be able to provide security for you. He said it. These are his words, not mine. And at that point, some people defended him. So I want to know, did he officially write to Adeleke or he sent a message to him that Adeleke, we are coming to campaign against you in your states? Because when people are talking and they try to justify their talk, they forget that there's a day that thing they said will come back to them. Life is like a boomerang. Thirdly, this cultural phenomenon of most governors going to campaign for their fellow governor in other states. All the political parties do it. I'm not going to blame APC. PDP too did it in their days. Everybody do it. Then you leave your states, like the problems of your state are not pressing enough, and you go and sit in other states. If that video was made yesterday, I don't know if Okpebolo has returned to Edo State. He'll probably, maybe he went to campaign or he has returned. But when it gets to crunch time for the election, we'll almost see the governor, they go and stay there. It's not necessary. Each state is a subnational on its own. I don't have problems with when you have a grand rally, all of you have a coalition, but going there individually and all of that and leaving the people in your state, all of them do it. It's not only an APC thing. But most importantly, we would like to call again that with these Osun elections, Nigerians are watching. And these Osun elections will determine a lot for INEC, for the government, and for all that transpire.
Absolutely. Everyone is watching what's going on in Osun State. And apparently, nothing, not even those comments from Okpebolo, can stop Governor Adeleke from showing off his dance moves, as he thrilled a crowd in Osogbo alongside his nephew, Davido, who was in the state to publicly throw his weight behind his uncle on Tuesday. Let's take a look. This is just a dancing family. I mean, these videos are going viral on social media. People online love to see this. They're calling this Davido takeover. And I think that there's also something people love about seeing the closeness of this family, because as we talk about every day, politics is brutal. But when you see, a little move, maybe it lightens the mood.
If what the people in Osun State like is dancing, they let the governor dance on. If music should be the food of love, but the truth is that there is credence to both sides. I believe that where critics, it's not just Governor Okpebholo who's criticized the governor Adeleke for over dancing, if there's ever a word like that. I think where it's the fact that it is bringing, what they have asserted is that it's bringing almost mockery or devaluing that position of governor. However, there's no law against the governor dancing. The people who will decide whether or not his dancing is affecting them positively or negatively are the people of Osun State. And that's why I always talk about the importance of ensuring that voters are educated enough to the extent that they know what to look out for when it comes to choosing their elected official, their governors, local government chairman. If some people, it is rice that is there, that if you give them rice, then they will vote for you. Some people, if you give them 5,000 naira, that is enough to get their votes. While some people, they're just easy. They just want you to dance for them, entertain them, and they're happy to vote for you. And so the question or the conversation should be more about, and I hope that the opposition or political parties will take this as an opportunity to really invest in political, information and education for the citizens. You cannot deny Davido's, going back to Davido's star power, they've used star power, and there are many other music artists that other people can decide to bring into the fray if that would convince the Osun State people enough. But I do think that the reason why Governor Adeleke is popular is that he has an appeal to the people. I mean, you can see that people they just like him, he's relatable, and maybe that's something to consider. What is your own relatability factor that you can use to engage or engender goodwill from the people? But beyond that, the most important thing, Annie, and I think Rufai touched on it, is that what is the need for the people?
Yeah.
So beyond the dancing, after the dancing is gone, after the music has gone off, what tangible benefit do the Osun people stand to gain from whomever their choice of candidate is? That should be the real issue. Don't let anything distract you. It'll be dancing or, rice, or like people are saying, money, 5,000 here. This is your future.
Right.
This is Osun State. So the critical question that should be asked would be, is Osun State better 4 years after than it was at the beginning of his tenure? And that is determined by the Osun State people. Do they like what the governor has been able to do in bringing people? That is up to the Osun State people. Dancing is good. Please, Governor Adeleke, don't stop dancing. No, don't listen to everybody. We like it. But in saying that, we should not let it distract from the real conversations around the benefit to the Osun State people. Anybody can use dance as a strategy. If everybody, all the governors, they should go to dancing school, if they think that is what is working for Osun State, which I don't think it is, because it would be quite, dumb for anyone to vote someone based on his dancing skills. That is almost ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But I do think that he has found his own strategy to engender goodwill with the people, to relate with the people, and that's his strategy. Let everyone define their strategy, but let it more be about what the gain is for the people. That's, for me, is what is the most important.
Very interesting. And as we talk about relatability of political candidates, let's now highlight this clip that's trending online of Edo State Governor's hype man praising him and Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo in Osun State. Let's quickly watch this video.
The best governor. The ego has landed. Oh, Akbako. The ego has landed. The Akbako. The ego has landed. Akbako. The uncommon governor of Edo. Ododo. 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 Governor, the best friend to our governor. Ododo. The best friend to our governor. Ododo. The best friend to our governor. Ododo. Oh, Edo is shining. Oh, God.
Dr. Abati, clearly some people like dancing, some people like having a hype man. I mean, what do we make of these strategies that politicians are using to create buzz or fanfare around them?
Okay, I said this morning that, politics is not necessarily about emotions, it's about strategies. So as a politician, the man with the better strategy will win. And we've been told by someone who should know in this same country that all is fair in politics. So if dancing works for you, try dancing. If surrounding yourself with hype men works for you, just do that. Although I'm just so worried about those hype men that an adult, some of them will have their wives at home. They will have children, will follow another human being all the way from Benin to Oshogbo to go and be shouting, Akpako, Akpako, the eagle has landed. Adeleke must leave. Adeleke is leaving.
National assignment. Not use the job where somebody they do they laugh. It is a legit dignity labor. As long as you not steal. Dr. Abati, can I ask you, now your voice you use, is it your voice?
No. The governor can find better things for them to do.
I sing as they paying them.
You go sweet us. You go they paying them.
Well, I'm just amused that, some women are so unfortunate. You have a husband who is
a job is a job.
Just going around town shouting.
Please stop that.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yes.
that's just on the lighter side. But I think one of the things we've always said on this table is the need to take voter education seriously in this environment. You know that voters who are advised to collect money and vote their conscience, they take it seriously, either out of cynicism or out of the poverty in the land. But I think that, we have to keep educating our voters that one bag of rice cannot feed you for 4 years. The 1 naira or 5 naira that politicians give you, that's not what you need. You need something more than that. The emphasis should be on how do we all, either we are politicians or we are ordinary citizens, how do we promote the common good? This elementary definition of politics, I think, is one of the major problems that we have in this environment. Stomach-driven politics. And, those who are in positions of leadership, they should not be promoting elementary politics. Once you eat today, it doesn't matter if you are hungry for the next 4 years. That's the only major thing that I see. And I think further investment in voter education could help in that regard.
Very good point. Okay. And for this next story, we'll stay in Osun State, the last one, because right now social media is totally dominated with reactions to the president's directive to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to unfreeze Osun State government accounts. Remember, just yesterday, the president said that he felt embarrassed by the EFCC's move. And in a new statement, a former advisor to President Buhari, Babafemi Ojuju, explains his support of the president's decision because Tinubu himself has been a victim of power abuse. Speaking about President Tinubu, he writes in part, and I'll read just a part of that statement, "A lot happened to him under the Obasanjo and Jonathan administrations. Watching him endure all manner of indignities in those years, I often felt sorry for him. Whatever one's political persuasion, those experiences teach an enduring lesson. Power is transient, and the instruments used to torment opponents today may be turned against them tomorrow. Some suggest the president knew about the action but didn't anticipate the backlash it would bring his government. Others believe that the administration detected a shift in sympathy towards the Osun State governor and retreated to avoid the consequences. The president stated that he had no prior knowledge of the action, but how could a federal agency take a step like this without anticipating the damage it could do to the public's confidence, both in the government and the electoral process? Was it recommended by people who failed to appreciate its consequences? Or was it the handiwork of fifth columnists determined to embarrass the president and portray his administration as willing to deploy institutions against political opponents? Rufai, I'll come to you on this statement and anyone else who'd like to comment, because he's essentially saying everything, what goes around comes around. And that's a reason why we got this response from the president.
But the question is, and kudos to my big Egmont, Babafemi Ojuju, great journalist, former senator. But the question is, did President Tinubu learn from what happened to him as regards the local government debacle? I mean, Dr. Abati, please, I'd like to come to you. You can see what happened as regards the local government situation in Osun, the federal intervention in that matter, they didn't look like somebody that learned when his own experience happened many years ago. No. It doesn't look like it. And it goes back to that talk about be careful when you have the power, when power comes to you. We remember how a lot of people fought for President Tinubu then. In fact, that singular gesture endeared a lot of people to him because we felt Obasanjo was victimizing him. And he had gone through a lot, being the last man standing. But when it became the turn of Osun, we saw the role the federal government played in all of this, which was not an appreciable role. Secondly, yes, we can say, oh, this decision is to be able to walk back a lot of things. But like he said rightly in that article, is it that they didn't know the consequences of this action? For me, I don't have all the facts. But I just thought that public backlash was also part of the things that aided that decision.
And there was a lot of it.
And there was a lot of it yesterday. Public backlash. Because as at yesterday morning, EFCC was still finding every reason to defend it. Until the public backlash grew so much that even the NBA, as at yesterday afternoon, when you check the news cycle, had spoken up about it. Then a lot of people were speaking up about it, then the reversal. So the question is it that we were not circumspect enough? What is leadership? Circumspection. What is leadership? A good over your head, to a good head over your neck to make good judgments. Judgments that are devoid of leanings and affiliations. Judgments that are in your own favor against other people. Leadership means denying yourself. That's who a leader is. Leadership means dying on your sword for the benefit of other people. That's what leadership is. So are we saying that there was no circumspection? And we, as much as everybody is trying to say is an hero for all of this, we have seen way too many decisions being made in this administration that we saw that there was no circumspection.
Right.
And that's where it falters. So the narrative of those that I support of the president is, oh, he did something well, deft move, very politically astute and everything. But Annie, the blackmail has already been done. And that's why the Osun State government is suing 2 billion for damaging.
2 billion.
For what has been done already.
Absolutely.
And Ayo, you cited the case of Ekiti.
Yeah.
That was not done in the case of Ekiti.
Well, I just wanted to point out to a statement that I think should stand out in Mr. Ojudu's statement, which is that we must, the president has made the right move, but even beyond that, we as Nigerian citizens deserve to know what institutional safeguards failed, and more importantly, what must be done to ensure we avoid a recurrence. In this instance, the president, using his discretionary powers, decided to intervene. What if we have a situation in the future where the president chooses not to intervene? And we have EFCC coming a few days to elections, taking on this kind of, making this kind of decision. So we're not saying, and I think I need to make it clear, that when investigations are ongoing, that people, if there's any need to take action by the EFCC, because we need to support the efforts of the EFCC to take action, it ought to be done. But when it has a coloration of political interference, then it raises other questions. So how do we prevent this from happening in the future? Because this was an executive intervention. What if the executive in the future decides not to intervene?
It doesn't happen. And then, Dr. Abati, I don't know if you want to quickly comment on this story as well.
Well, I already commented on this earlier on in the day. And I am of the view that the president also has a responsibility, because the buck stops at his desk, to intervene if he sees that there is something that is likely to heat up the polity. And that is why he signed the statement himself. He didn't assign it to any spokesperson. So he took responsibility.
Right.
And I said, he's not questioning the investigative powers of the EFCC, he made it clear that it's the timing. Just 10 days to an election. And it's about optics.
Right.
And that's why, people are saying, this must be politically motivated. EFCC should not get involved in politics. But as for the steps taken by the EFCC, nobody has been able to say what they have done is illegal. But the optics is what people criticize. And the president has stepped in now. Whatever investigation, whatever details they have, they can keep investigating. If there is need for subsequent action later, it's up to them to decide. But the president is saying, this is heating up the polity. And as a head of state, I have a responsibility to act, as I said earlier, as a circuit breaker, a political circuit breaker.
Yeah,
Dr. But
makes
I want
sense.
to learn, please. I thought somebody here said that there had been a Supreme Court ruling against EFCC freezing the account of a state. Or there had been a Supreme Court ruling against, like, a federal government freezing the account of a state. I was the one that said it. You said
Judgment,
it. Yes.
December 10, 2004. I didn't say EFCC. No. The judgment was in the matter of the additional 37 local governments that the Lagos state government, under the watch of President Tinubu, Governor Tinubu, as he then was, created. And then the federal government kicked. And the then President Obasanjo, said they should freeze the accounts of Lagos State, and Lagos State went to court. The matter at the Supreme Court decided December 10, 2004. That was when the Supreme Court said, no, the federal government of Nigeria cannot freeze the account.
So let's make
what was then decided was that Lagos State government was not given additional funds for those 37 administrative units, as they later called them. So they'll still get the allocation for 20 local governments and then share it.
What I wanted.
Yeah.
So by inference, the EFCC is an agency of the federal government, right? Is it not?
Yes, it is.
So by inference, if the Supreme Court said the federal government, the executive arm cannot freeze the account of the state, by inference, is that not a judgment that also extends to the EFCC?
The issue here is that even if you are going to do anything in terms of restriction, it can only be by order of court. You can't take an arbitrary decision. In the case of the Lagos state government, at that time, it was just like an executive directive. Don't pay them money.
Okay, we can. We have to move.
The EFCC is saying under section 7 sub 6 and under section 34 of the Establishment Act. They have a 72-hour window to impose a restriction.
So they didn't get an order of court.
No, they can do it from the enabling act.
Wilson yesterday provided that window, and the president this morning also said, they should go back to the same court. I said you want to say the president of Nigeria is lying. Don't go that far. Don't say that because the president was very clear.
Okay.
The decision was still taken against the order of court because they used the caveat based on their own Establishment Act.
72 hours. So I think the one question, just for
that's the point I wanted to make.
Is that Dr. Bati, that Supreme Court ruling that you cited in the Lagos State and federal government case, would it affect the Establishment Act of the EFCC that enables them to freeze an account for 72 hours?
No, the facts of the case are different.
Okay, so just wanted to check.
Okay, I think we can discuss this.
Unless we open the facts of the case.
Okay.
We don't have time.
We do not have time. A lot of other topics. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right. Earlier we were discussing how Davido was in Osun State. And as we talk about celebrities heading home, let's head to Benue State, where in an emotional moment, the legendary Nigerian musician Tubaba, born Innocent Idibia, made a personal visit on Wednesday to Otupo Nobi, one of the communities devastated by a deadly attack by terrorists last month. Let's take a look.
As you get opinion, make you know say other people get opinion too. I see the do things I be do, make you know say their opinion no one sign you.
Now, what stands out here is the fact that Tubaba didn't necessarily go to this community with solutions or promises. He went with something you rarely see in public life: genuine presence, taking time and honestly acknowledging people's pain and suffering. And it hits home, especially since he's quite literally a son of that soil. And meanwhile, the humanitarian catastrophe in Sabon-Birni local government area is getting worse by the minute. Just days after the attack on Samaye that killed at least 21 people, another 37 abducted, we have this new video being circulated which shows dozens of families walking through the wilderness with their life's belongings. This is Sokoto State. Let's take a look.
Wallahi an ci amanan wallahi an hana mu na rashin ga yunwa ga rashin tsaro to shin da wannan namushi wallahi mun ba gwamnati da Allah mun batta da Allah wallahi mai yanwa sai Allah ya san mu da gare ku maciya amana azzalumai wallahi kuna can kun kwanta da ku da iyalan ku na yalan mu ko ga muna kun sake mu muna tawon gararan ba mu wallahi sai Allah ya san mu da waga gwamnati ta jihar Sokoto ta cuce mu ta yaudare mu wallahi ka duba dan mutum na haka ta hakan ka dan mutum.
Ayal, the level of trauma that thousands of people have faced as a result of displacement, surviving a terrorist attack as well, is unthinkable. And if it feels like we've seen these videos before, it's because we've seen a lot of mass displacements across the country. All of these videos, and we have, a multi-box of showing, people in different parts of the country taking matters into their own hands. But the question is, where are all these people in these videos going?
That's a very good question. I think the video speaks for itself. And like you said, it could be a video that I've seen many times. The only difference would be that they've occurred in different communities, whether it be in Kwara community, some in Plateau, in Jos Plateau State, across different states in Nigeria. We see where people have taken matters into their own hands and chosen to flee because they just feel like the state would not come to their rescue. And it's a wake-up call, again, to the government because the government has failed. We're still talking about resettling people who are currently in IDP camps, and we're adding more to those numbers. This should be, since you talk about political season, one of the key debate areas for anyone who would want to lead this nation. That what are we going to do to ensure that Nigeria does not become a nation of refugees, where we have many refugees living in their own country, but unable to stay in their communities because there's no guarantee of safety? Mm-hmm. So that is a big, big question for anyone. And it's not just at federal level, even subnationals. We often talk about the responsibility of governors to their people, resettling of their people, building homes, and, ensuring that people are supported to restart their lives again, especially people who have lost their livelihood based on terrorist attacks. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to Two-Face Idibia, this is the power of celebrity culture, celebrity influence that is, used, whereby a celebrity can use the massive influence to to advocate, to lobby on behalf of their people, to raise awareness about issues that are going on in the society. When it comes to insecurity, nobody is immune. Nobody is, there's no life that is exempted. If you're not affected, somebody that is affected, a family member, whether immediate or, extended, that's affected by insecurity. That is why everybody, irrespective of political leanings, must speak out against this and demand for accountability from governments to ensure that everybody in Nigeria feels safe and that people can actually make their livelihood, not based on the fact that terrorists have taken over or prevented them from going to their farms or going to work or making a living for themselves. This is something that if we all don't stand up against, we'll just wake up, blow up in our faces one day. Nobody is immune. So for those who are arguing on social media, my person versus reverse person, are not focusing on the issues and what the person has to offer the people. Right. This is what you're going to get at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And, every day we always talk about insecurity or violence and the different iterations and forms that it can take on, which leads us to our next story, which has generated hundreds of thousands of views online. Because in this clip, a group of police officers are seen held at gunpoint in a car as they're ambushed by a group of men. Now, in the clip, one of the officers, identified as David Bako, says he works at the police headquarters in Imo State. Let's take a look.
Okay, wind the motor down. Say me wind it down. Command you to wind it down. Command you to wind it down. Wind it down. I said, wind it down. Okay, I said, I will do it out command. I will do it out command.
081.
What is your name?
David. 081.
He's not bad. Look at David. He's an officer. 081. He's an officer. I just want to leave him. I just get him now. Look at him. This is Ipenson. This is an officer.
As of now, we have yet to see an official statement from the Imo State Police Command, but this is impunity at the highest level. To threaten a gun at a group of officers, then film the entire encounter is shocking. The Nigeria Police Force and the Imo State government must respond and make it clear that attacking security personnel comes with consequences. And if we stay in Imo State, it comes as 4 police officers are in detention after a viral video that surfaced earlier this week of the state's police command violently shoving a man identified as Prince Will Chimaobi into the boot of a car. Let's see this video that had people talking all week.
So person dey for boot, so that person go dey breathe.
Dr. Abati, in a statement from the police command, the officers were apparently conducting a suspected drug trafficking operation. 2 suspects have now been arrested, but nevertheless, the way they condemned the way in which the personnel forced this man into the boot, and people online are saying it's essentially somewhat of a saving grace that it was caught on camera, because if it wasn't, who knows what would have happened.
Which is how, now in the age of social media, everybody is virtually a reporter. And the government also says, well, if you see something, say something. So you find citizen journalists out there, bringing, reports like this to the public attention. However, there's something the police refer to. They call it Standard Operating Procedure, SOP. The challenge is how many of these policemen follow their own procedures, particularly, the kind of degree of force that you use. You are supposed to apprehend the person with a proportional use of force, not to, go beyond the bounds or the rules. But the same police force, has a disciplinary unit. And these incidents that we have seen here should be investigated. In this particular case on the screen, you already say the policemen have already been arrested. There must be a way to arrest somebody, not by locking people inside the trunk of a vehicle. So we hope that the police, Imo State Police Command, would, respect their own rules and make sure that appropriate sanctions are applied. In the other video, the first one, where some policeman at gunpoint was being asked for his details and all of that. If you look at the uniform that those persons were wearing, one of them was wearing a camouflage. So are these soldiers? If they are soldiers, I think, the matter should be investigated. The Igbo Police Command, they already know the identity of their officer involved in that scene, David Bako. Do they have a certain David Bako? What, has been done by the Imo State Police Command to find out what exactly happened here? Was a man on a VIP protection duty, because I saw one man sitting there in the owner's corner, not wearing a police uniform. And then who are these men? Are they uniform personnel, appropriately so, or they are just some militia, gang that is out there? But some people who saw that video very closely said they are carrying police or security rifles that may well belong to a particular agency. But it's only through intervention of the Imo State Police Command and talking to David Bako that the facts of the matter can be established. Because we can't have, all kinds of gangs around the streets, whether in Imo State or in Ogidi,
Definitely not.
That's to make you laugh.
That's funny. That's very funny. But it's true. I mean, everyone must be secure, and the Imo State Police Command should respond to that video. Let's now shift gears, because right now, hundreds of people online are weighing in on this new video where a content creator calls out Nigerian doctors and hospitals, accusing them of asking for way too many medical tests, leaving patients with way too many medical bills. The clip surfaced on Thursday. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Nigerian doctors, you guys need to stop misdiagnosing people and making them spend money that they don't actually need to spend just because of you're trying to make money for the hospital or for yourselves or for whatever reason that you do it for. I understand that sometimes people will need to run tests, like do proper testing in order for you to diagnose them of what is wrong with them. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the doctors that will intentionally send you to the lab to go and run tests that you don't need because of they are trying to generate money for themselves or for the hospital. I have complained about this same thing to a doctor friend of mine who explicitly told me that if you don't do this part, if you don't do this thing, they are going to query you. A doctor has sent me to go and do 4 expensive tests because I came to complain about chest pain. This doctor that gave me this diagnosis told me that something was wrong with my heart. That the vein taking blood to my heart has been blocked by fats. Going to the hospital is already expensive enough. You don't have to make people spend money that they don't even have. There are a lot of people these days that don't even want to go to the hospital because they know that if you go to the hospital, you are going to spend money, whether you like it or not.
And Rufai, let's stay in this world of the medical community, because meanwhile, we have this other clip of a huge turnout of applicants at Enugu State College of Nursing examinations that's caused a lot of reactions. We have this video. You can see what looks like hundreds of students going for this one test. And people online are pretty much just taken aback by the scale and the number of people who are apparently interested in nursing. I'll take 2 quick reactions from X. One person wrote, Sizzle, we need to get Nigeria working again. The amount of youthful manpower we are wasting is incredible. Look at how many people are willing to be nurses. Healthcare in this country should be number 1 in the world if handled properly. Then Obi says, in the next 10 years, over 20% of these people would have relocated abroad. Over 30% of these people will be selling hair and wigs on WhatsApp status. Some of them would even turn to bakers. Only a small amount will really practice nursing. It is well with this country. The medical community, nursing and medical tests.
So that's the collective scale of the economic problem we face, because everything is interwoven, it permeates into one another. Yes, I mean, the assertion that once a lot of these people get their medical degrees back here or the nursing degree, then they find way abroad. Yes, obviously, because the pay is marginally higher, than what they will get here. The working conditions will be a whole lot higher. So definitely it's mostly on their way out. I mean, if you go to the UK or America or Saudi Arabia, you're most likely to find a Nigerian doctor or somebody of Nigerian extraction be there with you. But how do we improve it? It's still the economic conditions. I mean, if things get a whole lot better, then we can do a whole lot more. I mean, I don't like to go memory lane to get to the point of getting emotional, but I have to go there. There was a point that University Teaching College, UCH in Ibadan, that is now in the news for not having power for a while before they finally fixed the power. Used to be about the 5th best healthcare center in the Commonwealth. So imagine the Commonwealth. We had Commonwealth Games recently. You know how many countries have participated there? In the entire Commonwealth, UCH used to be number 5. The royal families from the Middle East used to come for their medicals in UCH. UCH was so renowned that you had the likes of the Adeoye Lambos of this world, UCH gynecological, department was one of the best. In fact, Nigerian families, we had a doctor here that came from Duchess that was talking about the fact that I think his family grew up in Canada. The families abroad used to leave Canada and America to come and give birth here because of the quality of healthcare UCH had in that 70s. And that's how things were prime. But the question is, how did things change so much and deteriorate that you had nothing? And that you have a place struggling so much? It now goes back to the economic problem. It goes back to leadership. It goes back to other attendant problem. You know, extrapolate that with the person saying that doctors are asking for 2 months. I'm sorry, I don't believe that narrative. Because it is the doctor's right to inquire. Again, and I also get her point of view. Her point of view is that the tests are expensive. Economic threshold to be able to pay for the test are very high. But if you have a comprehensive healthcare package that covers most of these things, you know, having the test is not supposed to make your most payments come out of pockets. So it's because also most of the medical payments here are out-of-pocket payments. Even if you get the insurance coverage with the premiums, you might not really be able to cover a lot. Then you have to do this test, then it feeds back to you. And that's why she's complaining. I mean, in a country where the healthcare system works and you have a viable health insurance, it is not even you that will pay the money out of the pocket. The doctor will just write as many tests and investigation. And I do not think it's a bad thing for the doctors to be able to investigate, you know, and ask, I'm not clear about this. I want to be able to see this. But all of these things just go back to that Nigerian narrative. You know, I've also heard people that say, oh, the doctors will say, go to this particular lab because they have interest there and the likes and all of that. There's that mistrust and distrust. But the mistrust and distrust is also born out of the poor economic conditions and large level of poverty. So when I hear most of these complaints, you see, Annie, if Nigerians are in a country that work, we'll go to church and mosque less. The reason why you have an upsurge in religious activities is because the country is not working. I mean, imagine hearing the prayer points. Oh God, let them give me a visa. In a country that works, you don't need to pray for something like that. Oh God, let me get a connection for somebody that will help me put my plights to government. In a country that works, you don't need
those kinds of prayer points. You know, you have Mr. Empirical fact. It's not only countries that are poor that you have an upsurge in going to. Some people just like the peace and serenity.
No, the only outlier.
It's just that.
The only outlier, I've done the research. I don't talk with that. The only outlier is America. A prosperous, booming nation that church attendance level is on the increase. Because it's only America. Apart from America, check UK. Check Britain.
No, UK has a different problem. Let me just add to this very quickly. If I made a point about HMOs, but there's another argument for those who are following medical Twitter on X, where, by the way, the HMO, a doctor was complaining that, maybe jocularly, that the government should ban HMOs because now everybody just comes to the hospital to use their services. So you can see that there's a mindset problem that we have in Nigeria, where the the poverty level makes you complain about the bills coming. And those who can afford HMOs, the doctors are complaining that you're giving them too much work to do because now you're coming for everything. So you can see that it's beyond, and also maybe the standardization when it comes to hospital complaints, and medical professionals who oversee actions of doctors have to play a role in this to ensure that both doctors and patients are protected. Let's not neither of them complain about who is. But please do your test. So there are some investigations that you didn't see as necessary, but would unveil something that you never imagined. So please, that narrative is dangerous. Do those tests.
That's a good comment. Now, again, all of these tells us that government needs to invest more in the health sector. A healthy nation is a wealthy nation.
Very good point.
The second point is public enlightenment is important. Medical doctors are not pastors. They are not prophets. They are not into guesswork. They are scientists. The only way they can determine what is wrong with you is through diagnosis. And it's a scientific process. They need to investigate. They don't just look at you and say you have malaria. It's when they test you that they will. So, but many people think that doctors are like their pastors, who can just look at you.
It doesn't work that way. All right, it doesn't work that way. Please go and get your test.
We have spiritual
and get your test. Okay, let's now highlight an incredible sighting of what appeared to be a whale in river state waters. Now, the mammal, which is being identified by experts as most likely a humpback whale, was spotted in a new trending video that emerged earlier this week around Andoni. Let's take a look. cool. That's incredible. Humpback whales, which, we think it is, are actually known to travel around here to the Gulf of Guinea in warmer periods. And if you actually compare the tail of the mammal in the video with the tail of a humpback whale, it could be what we were looking at. So, we'll call our ecologists and marine biologists to investigate that one.
Do you know the status of this whale?
We don't. Hopefully,
No, they should not do anything.
hopefully it's okay.
Did it swim ashore? Otherwise, it will have ended up as pepper soup.
Oh gosh.
What happened to that elephant that was also found in River Sandoni?
Hopefully they're both okay.
I hope so.
Hopefully they're both okay and not in a pot of pepper soup. All right. This next video may be the cutest one you see all day. In a heartwarming family moment that's gone viral, a proud mother arrived at her son Promise's sign-out celebration from Federal Polytechnic Nekede in Owerri with a live goat as a special gift. Aww. Let's take a look.
I hope they prepared a son and goat make pepper soup.
There's nothing like a parent's love. Beautiful. Congratulations to Promise on completing his program, and respect to his mom for showing up in such a memorable way. Nigeria celebrates you both.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the show, we asked for your comments, and we have Andy from Leke Leke commenting on the Okpebolo story. So we'll quickly take his reaction on Leke Leke. He says, who brought Okpebolo to campaign against Adeleke? Did he get security clearance before going to Osun, like what Rufai said? Yes. I feel this Edo State governor needs a therapist. Even with power and money, he lacks confidence when addressing a crowd. That's his opinion. I think his trauma, if any, still has a grip on him. I mean, people have their opinions, and that was just one of them from Leke Leke.
I think Okpebolo spoke well. He did. I mean, he did. He was, not everybody's a public speaker, an orator. I think he spoke well. He spoke confidently. He spoke, with the people. So no hate to Okpebolo will be
I disagree with him, but there's something called peer review. If you are looking at it theoretically, but he's entitled to his opinion.
He is.
Yeah, but I think it's a stretch talking about childhood. You have no facts to that. I don't think it's. In our criticism, let's stick to subject matter.
Yes.
I mean, you can condemn, what he spoke about, or the dancing and everything, and say, let's be fact-based, not somebody attacking people.
It's what I call the evil of opinionitis. Everybody is a
Everyone
commentator.
has their opinion.
You have no evidence of the fact that it's got traumas. You've got nothing. This is now personal. I mean, you shouldn't do this to a fellow human being.
True. Everyone has their opinion. But let's end the show by taking our good news report now. And this one is a big win for Nigeria and women in medicine. Dr. Salamat Aliyu Ibrahim, widely seen as the first female certified neurosurgeon in West Africa, has been appointed medical director of Freeman Children's Clinic in Missouri in the United States. Born in Ilorin, Kwara State, Dr. Aliyu Ibrahim studied medicine at the University of Ilorin, specializing in neurosurgery. Now, this is a field that historically has almost been exclusively male, both globally and locally. She then served as a senior consultant neurosurgeon at the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, where she performed cranial and spinal procedures, establishing herself as one of the most prominent figures in Nigerian neurosurgery. She's trained at the University of Texas Medical Branch, the National Hospital Abuja, as well as Boston Children's Hospital, affiliated with Harvard Medical School. Now, her appointment as medical director of a children's clinic in Missouri now places a Nigerian-trained medical pioneer in a senior leadership position in the American healthcare system, reminding all of us what this country produces when it nurtures its talent. From all of us at Arise, congratulations to Dr. Aliyu Ibrahim. Incredible.
Congratulations.
Neurosurgery.
It's bittersweet for me. I'm happy and I'm not happy. Nigeria's lost another great neurosurgeon. My father had to use a neurosurgeon for a surgery when he had a tumor in his spinal cord while he was alive. I know neurosurgeons are not easy to come by. Shout out to Dr. Rabiu Taufik.
Absolutely.
And for us to lose another one, why we're excited that she's going to a better place,
It's
mixed
hard.
feelings for me.
It's hard, but we still celebrate her achievements. And she's Nigerian. That's all I have for you on what's trending today. Here in the background, we have Gratitude by Ashake because, yes, we have made it to the end of the week and we are grateful for that. So thank you all for your great analysis. And what's trending will be back next week.
Thank you.
And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show. Roti Sudiri is up next with Global Business Report. Stay with us. This is still the Arise News Channel, your favorite global standout news channel.